allow interception of calls, voice notes, and chats. Right now, even with a warrant from a judge, law enforcement cannot access encrypted WhatsApp messages. And the IGI, the Inspector General of Intelligence, says criminals are exploiting this quote unquote massive loophole. The report warns this has crippled efforts to fight organized crime, kidnappings, and unrest, and calls for urgent upgrades to interception systems and new regulations, compelling service providers to hand over information. So the report says WhatsApp's end-to-end encryption has become, quote unquote, fertile ground and a massive loophole for criminals to exploit. So that is the situation. That is the problem statement. And the IGI says something has got to give, something has got to be done to rectify what it's calling, what that office is calling a massive loophole. I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about that? Right now, at the moment, with a warrant, law enforcement and the intelligence community can intercept your calls, your SMSs, and the likes. But WhatsApp has until now been, that terrain that has been encrypted end to end without the possibility of being intercepted in this way. What do you make of this call by the IGI saying that this remains, like the back of the moon in a way, a black hole in terms of intelligence gathering under the normal and necessary circumstances. At about 7:20, we'll speak to Lerato Ntwampe, who is a social media lawyer, who will outline what the landscape look like currently in terms of interception of communication, but what it's likely to look like should these changes come into effect as being called for by the IGI. Another weekend of senseless murder in the gang killing fields of the Cape Flats. 3 men were shot dead in Delft on Sunday morning in what police believe was yet another gang-related attack, the latest in a string of mass shootings that have rocked Cape Town's most vulnerable communities. Just last week, we reported on 5 people being killed in separate attacks in Mannenberg and Hanover Park, while 2 others were gunned down in Mitchell's Plain earlier on this month. This has all deepened fear of a deadly turf war. Police have reinforced, we are told, the anti-gang unit deployments across hotspots from Delft to Bishop Lavis, as community activists warn that residents are living in constant fear and the violence is rising faster than law enforcement can respond. At about 7:10, we'll put that issue under the spotlight and we'll speak to Reginald Jacob Hills, who is from the Delft Community Policing Forum, where he is deputy chairperson of that CPF. You may have noticed some of your friends on social media turning their profile pictures purple lately. And maybe you're wondering, what's that all about? Well, it's all part of a campaign of solidarity, which is building up to a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide. And it's led by the Women for Change organization. The shutdown is scheduled for the 21st of November, and it calls on women and members of the LGBTQI community to withdraw their power by refraining from all forms of paid and unpaid labor for a day, a powerful act of resistance aimed at demanding that GBV be declared a national disaster. So the Women for Change national shutdown it coincides with the start of the G20 Leaders Summit, and it is the summit it will be hosted from the 22nd to the 23rd of November in Johannesburg, where the country will chair the global bloc for the first time. So protest organizers are telling us that the timing of the Women for Change national shutdown is not coincidental, but it's intentional, aimed at shining the spotlight on the country's femicide crisis and giving it that platform on the world stage. Participants are urged to wear black, change their social media profiles to purple, and observe a 15-minute nationwide standstill at noon, lying down wherever they are in honor of 15 women murdered daily in South Africa. So we'll put that issue under the spotlight at about 8:20. We'll be speaking to Michael Benevolent Masina, who is anti-GBVF activist, part of Women for Change. That conversation coming up at about 7:20. As far as the team goes, we are at full strength once again for you this morning with Dineo Motaung watching your news and giving you updates every half hour. We have Rob Byrne keeping an eye on traffic flows across the country. Zaikan is watching your sports and will update you throughout the show. Melissa Buta will complete your picture with the morning brief in the next few minutes. Darling Lichela, as always, right on the money with your business and market updates. And of course, Mo Africa, Sipho Mantula with your Africa update at about 7. You can be a part of this conversation. Let's together. Let's together lead the conversations that move us. The number to dial 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. All right, we've started it. We've revved it a few times. It's idled nicely. It is now warm. Let's put it in gear and get going on this Monday morning.
It's flake or break in the Elimination Challenge on the Tastemaster Junior this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2. It's all about perfectly baked pastry and a deliciously savory filling as the bottom 6 bake their own pies from scratch. There's no time for half-baked measures as they fight for a spot in the next round. That's the Tastemaster Junior, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. Only on SABC2.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's get it started with Melissa Buta with the morning brief in brief. Melissa, good morning. Let's start with news to do with the Forestry, Fisheries and Environment Minister, Dion George. He's under the spotlight. In fact, he's in a spot of bother, isn't he?
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Minister of Forestry and Environment reportedly removed his position due to underperformance and not because of no South African and citizenship. George, who disclosed his dual status to Parliament, has used his past official travel with presidential approval. Reportedly declined an offer to become Deputy Minister of Trade and after the government of national unity about replacing him. Party insiders of with stakeholders and performance reports of reasons for the potential reshuffle. The presidency confirmed that discussions between the board and the president are currently ongoing. It said no final decision has yet been made regarding his position.
All right, so from a minister who may or may not be removed to one who has been removed, albeit temporarily in the government sense, and then he wanted to step aside as far as his party, the ANC, is concerned, but the party said, you ain't going nowhere.
The ANC has suspended will continue the party corruption. Kunu, a member of the ANC and NWC, has appeared before Parliament's ad hoc committee and has yet to testify before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. ANC spokesperson who step aside and is operating with both Madlanga and ANC. The ANC rather decided can continue party work while on from cabinet pending further clearly highlighting its stance and its approach.
I was thinking about this, Melissa, and I stand to be corrected. I don't know if there's been a judge who has chaired more commissions of inquiry Then Justice Khampepe, Sisi Khampepe. There was the Khampepe Commission that looked into the elections in Zimbabwe. Then there was the Khampepe Commission into the Usindiso building. Now another Khampepe Commission is coming up.
Indeed, the Judge Kabwe is the commission established by President Ramaphosa 29th of May of this year will investigate political interference, the TRC case prosecutions, public hearings are today in Johannesburg, beginning with days of listening. Witnesses and family members of victims, former TRC commissioners, NDP, and the legal officials. The commission, unlike the TRC, examines obstruction in the justice, not individual human rights violations. Hearings will be live streamed, so everyone is catch that, and we will have to see how this goes on.
Yeah, maybe I do need to correct myself. Perhaps the Zimbabwe inquiry was not necessarily a commission of inquiry in the true sense that you and I know, but in the end, it produced the Khampepe report, which became a bone of contention on its own. Anyway, let's move on to Nelson Mandela University. A bit of a crisis playing itself out there.
Yes. So the Nelson Mandela University is mourning the death of its 6 students 2 months after a of students Tabiso Ernest died by suicide. The university has offered psychosocial support to students and recent tragedies, student drowning, a murder, and a burglary related death. Vice Chancellor Professor Lemuta expressed condolence and emphasized the ongoing support to the university community. So it is quite a sad thing at the university.
Truly concerning. Yeah.
We deal with it.
Yeah. No, thank you for that, Melissa. A truly concerning situation out there at Nelson Mandela University. And I wonder if, how it fits in as far as the picture of mental health in various higher education spaces is concerned. Perhaps there's something there for us to explore in the coming days.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
On the weather front, no impact-based warnings, no advisories, so it's a clear day for you. It's a good day, it would seem. The rest of your weather looks like this. Pretoria, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers with a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 23. Same conditions in Johannesburg with a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 21. And the exact same conditions in Vereeniging, 12 to 20. Mbombela will be cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 16 to 23. Polokwane, same conditions, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 13 to 23. Same conditions in Mahikeng with a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 25. Bloemfontein, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 15 to 26. Same conditions in Kimberley with a minimum of 16 and a maximum of 27. Uppington, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, 17 to 31. Cape Town will be fine with fog in the morning, 16 to 27. George, fine, 18 to 27. Gqeberha, partly cloudy, 19 to 27. East London, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, 20 to 26. Durban, partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 20 to 26. Richards Bay, partly cloudy with isolated showers and rain, 19 to 27. Pietermaritzburg will see morning fog patches, otherwise partly cloudy, becoming cloudy in the afternoon with scattered showers and thunder showers, 16 to 25.
Worldview Update, bringing you closer to international or global news.
So there's been something of an evolution, or it's unfolding, let's say, an evolution in aviation. Just 80 years ago, thereabouts, a journey from London or New York to Australia took more than a week. Soon, travelers will be able to make that same trip in less than a day. Qantas, the Australian airline, has revealed the first images of its groundbreaking Airbus A350 1000 ULR, an ultra-long-range aircraft that will connect Australia's east coast to major global cities without stopping. The project marks a new era in aviation, promising flights of up to 22 hours and redefining what's possible in commercial air travel. Let's speak to Guy Leach, aviation analyst, who joins me now on the line. Good morning to you, Guy, and thank you for your time. How evolutionary is this, given the distances between the cities we are mentioning? If you needed to travel from New York on the east coast of the United States to, I don't know, Perth in Australia, what does it look like now, and how does this change the game?
Yeah, good morning to Lucy and to your listeners. It is, as you say, it's an evolutionary. It's not really revolutionary because the airline manufacturers have been building the last years. But it's really significant. And one of the things I really like about it is it's in the absolute final frontier. And that final frontier, the airliner with a range of 20,000 kilometers. Now, why do I say 20,000 kilometers? It's because comfort is 3,000 kilometers. But a plane that can fly 20,000 kilometers, you can fly from anywhere else non-stop. And that's, I think that's that. We're not quite there yet because New York to Sydney or London is about 8,900. Uh, uh, it's about a 20-hour flight, and that's why these aircraft are now just taking the range. What the readers may most be interested in knowing, though, is that the changes being brought about, not the changes or development of aircraft technology or aerodynamic technology engine. We've seen this massive growth of engine, so that now we can do the incredibly long just on the aircraft.
So as things stand, Guy, what does a trip from New York or from London to Perth or Sydney, what does that look like? And please do talk to these dynamics about traveling on the back of the earth or traveling over our side of the earth. How does it work? Does it involve a number of stops?
Well, obviously it doesn't involve any stops because it's a monster.
Yeah.
But, because it's a monster, the plan is that
No, I mean the current one, the current situation.
Oh, in the current situation,
yes.
Well, it's been common in for instance, in South Africa to fly non-stop from New York to Johannesburg or even Cape Town, and that's the 10 years ago, about I flew with SNA from Johannesburg to Virginia. That was a 15-hour flight. So we're pretty much there in terms of it. And everything is really, really drag. You're flying through the night and then most of the day. If you're flying eastbound, where the days get to be short, that's what sunrise, you can see dawns, sunrises, and just like so. There's not physical limitations to the aircraft or the airplane. But you really don't want to have people seat for 20 hours because there's going to be massive problems like from that one. Spent a lot of time and effort making recreational areas or rest areas. And obviously the issues for crew are very prominent as well. But you've got to have a full crews on board, and the crews have got to be able, they've got to work.
And so you mentioned that the well-being aspect of such a long-haul flight that may be possible. We expect that by October 2026, first delivery will be happening. But what are the other features? You talked about the power of the engines. What other considerations go into it?
Well, that the article that you referred to is by CNN, and it makes a story of those new aircraft. This is pretty much standard Airbus, which you for the wide body. And all they've done is they've taken the largest thing and added in another 20,000 liter tank fuselage range. Normally, again, that would compromise the payload. Well, yes, it has. They've reduced the number of seats down from about 380 to about 105 configuration. But the more important thing is the power, because it's got to be safe. So if you lose one engine on takeoff or shortly after, the airplane is still going to be able to climb out with this massive fuel load on board. These are the considerations of the design of the aircraft.
Oh, yeah, we lost Guy there. Sorry about that. Guy Leach, aviation analyst. I don't know what happened there. The line dropped, but of course, we were close to the end of that conversation in any case, and we had gotten as much as possible out of Guy Leach. Fascinating development out of aviation.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Hey, Zai, good morning to you. So, Marumo Gallants spear their way to the culling knockout finals, and it all has to do with a man known as Washington Arubi.
Yeah, we're speaking about small planes taking on the big jets. This is exactly what, this league and this cup is known for. It's Marumo Gallants. They are through and to the knockout final, edging Golden Arrows 4-2 on penalties at the King Zwelithini Stadium. The match finished 2-2 after 90 minutes before the veteran goalkeeper Washington Arubi producing the decisive moment, and it's Gallant's second domestic cup final in 3 years. They will face Orlando Pirates in the final. That's in December. Now, Italy, they steal top spot in their group with a 3-1 win over South Africa at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup. Samuel Inacio scored twice, taking Italy to 4 for the tournament, while Sean Els equalized for Amajimbos briefly. Despite the defeat, South Africa advanced to the knockout phase with 4 points from their three group matches. Some other action elsewhere. Premier League, Aston Villa, they found their shooting boots, beating Bournemouth 4-0 at Villa Park to jump into 7th place. Meanwhile, Newcastle's away struggles continue, their winless run on the road extending to 10 league matches after a 3-1 loss to Brentford. Now, the Proteas women coach, Mandla Mashimbi, has reiterated that he's more focused on having good human beings in his team than good cricketers. Mashimba revealed that he felt neglected as a human in his playing days and was treated more like a commodity. Now, he says he challenges the players with reflecting on themselves and what their role in assisting the team moving forward will be.
The task is simple. It's you as a person. Reflect. Think about what you've done and how you contribute to success or failure. See if you can do it better next time you get an opportunity. It's you, the person. Reflect on you. At the end of the day, you can look at everybody else and start pointing fingers and say, because of that one and that one. You want to help you. So you gotta do some introspection and then come up with a solution.
And finally, athletics, Glenrose Traba and Ryan Mpahlele dominated the inaugural Boxer Super Run Joburg, winning the Elite Wave 5 kilometer at a packed Marks Park in Emerentia. Traba claimed her third straight series victory, while Mpahlele powered home in 14 minutes 20, holding off Musa Wenkosi Mnisi. Both athletes sit firmly atop the national 5 kilometer circuit. We'll be back on the podium with more sport. Top of the hour, I am Zai Khan.
Well, the headlines at 6:30. I'm Dino Modaung. A very good morning. The Gauteng provincial government has condemned the vandalism of G20 signage and revamped infrastructure across the city of Johannesburg. In other news, 8 people have been killed in a collision between a truck and a sedan on the N2 near Scottburgh on the KwaZulu-Natal south coast. And a convicted inmate, Jacob September, who escaped from the Helderstrom Correctional Facility in Caledon, has been rearrested. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Very good morning. The M1, very busy route these days, coming in from the south side, from Protea Glen, from Lenasia, out of El Dorado Park, up from Krasimir, perhaps returning after the weekend, between the Potch Highway and the Deep Cliff Interchange, absolutely jam-packed through there. The Mike 1 pretty busy as well. Boyston through to Parktown is a queue. Roadworks on the N17, Joburg bound and Boksburg still there. The queues are starting to build. And the N3 North Roadworks still there at Limbro Park, and it is starting to push your queue back already through to Limbro Park. So Limbro Park up to the works at Buccleuch. is the pressure point there. Busy back to work on Monday for N1 traffic. That's already under a bit of pressure with big volumes between the old Joburg Road exit and the Olifantsfontein Road ramp as you come down through Centurion into the Midrand area this morning. Durban side, the N2 north and southbound queuing up through Spaghetti Junction. So northbound from the M7, southbound from Umgena Road, both ways through the interchange. Very busy. Looks like something's probably broken down on the southbound side. The northbound you'll be used to because the road works, but southbound at this time of morning, something's gone wrong there. Cape Town, the N7 north roadworks at 4 Trekker Road, right in the heart of Goodwood. It's a heavy queue coming through from Langa, and no traffic lights. This will be a problem if you know this part of Cape Town. No traffic lights N1 inbound at that Sable Road Bridge. The N1 inbound's already under pressure from Belleville, and that's going to get a lot worse. So those lights as you come off the ramp is going to be absolutely chaotic trying to get off the highway or just trying to get into town on that N1 through that junction. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's say good morning to Ndauling for the first update of the week. Ndauling, let's start in the United States. It looks like there's light at the end of the tunnel, is there, as far as the longest government shutdown in history is concerned?
Morning, Tula. So U.S. lawmakers have voted to advance a funding package aimed at ending the longest government shutdown in the country's history. In a vote yesterday, a group of centrist Democrats joined Republicans to move forward a short-term measure that would fund the government through the end of January. Now, the deal includes a commitment from Republicans to hold a December vote on extending Affordable Care Act subsidies, a key Democratic demand in the budget standoff. If the bill passes the Senate, it will still need approval from the House of Representatives before being sent to President Trump for his signature, a process expected to take several days. Now, the shutdown, which has dragged on for about 40 days, has disrupted public services and left many federal employees without pay. Lawmakers say the compromise could bring temporary relief, but deeper divisions over spending priorities and healthcare remain unresolved.
In pharmaceuticals, tell me about Pfizer winning this Metsera bidding war. You're saying what? With an offer of some $10 billion.
So Pfizer has clinched that $10 billion deal to buy obesity drug developer Metsera, beating out a rival Novo Nordisk in what can be described as one of the fiercest biotech bidding wars of the year. Metsera's board accepted Pfizer's revised offer last Friday, saying it carried fewer U.S. antitrust risks than Novo's competing bid, which the Federal Trade Commission had flagged potential competition concerns. Novo has since pulled out, saying the regulatory risks are too high. Deal gives Pfizer a long-awaited pushback in the weight loss market, an area it struggles to break into as the likes of Novo and Eli Lilly dominate global sales. The analysts say Pfizer's move is a bold bet on the future of obesity drugs, the market expected to top $150 billion by the next decade, even though Metsera's treatments are still in development.
Lastly, Ndauling, recap for us how we closed on Friday and the tone that is being set as we start this week.
Starting in the U.S., markets closed last week mixed. Nasdaq index period as the AI sell-off continued. Those tech counters experienced their worst sell-off since April. Downbeat global sentiment filtering through to the JSE with the all-share down over 1%, fueled by losses in the industrial 25 shedding 1.8%. However, in currencies, the rand remained steady this morning amid all the volatility we've been seeing, sitting at 17.28 to the greenback. Over in the commodity scene, Brent making gains after the downbeat week, trading just above $60 per barrel this hour, boosted by optimism around the possible reopening of the U.S. government. And that optimism also being seen in trade in Asia, staging of a recovery value.
All right, thank you for that, Ndauling. We'll catch up with you in the second hour of the show, just after 7:30.
Africa Update on SAFM.
And for that, we turn to Advocate Sipho Mantula. Raz, good morning. The question that was foremost in your mind and my mind, almost in the very first few days as the coup was unfolding in Madagascar has now been answered. Their historic cheering of SADC has turned out to be short-lived.
Refreshing morning, Tulas and Jamba Africa to the listeners. Indeed, Tulas, what we saw on Friday, a virtual meeting of the what they will call an extraordinary summit of the heads of state and governments, confirming South Africa assuming the interim leadership of the SADC until 2026, Tulas, when we'll be hosting 46th SADC summit. Remember, we have been there before, Tulas, in 2017. We have chaired the SADC in 2012. We have chaired the SADC. So there are many roles that we have played within the SADC regional economic bodies. But this summit also told us that happened virtually. It says by the end of this month, they have to appoint the incoming chair that will now deputize South Africa. Because remember, Tulas is very important in this rotation of SADC, how it will happen. So they've given the summit until the 30th of November to appoint the new incoming chairperson. Strange enough, Tulas, they also send their words of congratulations from Malawi to Tanzania, contradicting the SADC statement also, Tulas. And also, Randranina being part of the meeting when the AU suspended him. So these are interesting times in that SADC virtual summit, Tulas. In Zimbabwe offered to say that towards the end of the month they will be hosting meetings of SADC. That's how it has ended, Tulas. So we'll wait and see South Africa becoming the interim chair. Still having some frustration on the G20 chairperson, Tulas. I think focus on the AU and the SADC, Tulas. The G20 should not be our pre-mission.
Right. Sipho, talk to me about what's happening in Kenya and Tanzania. With the protests, the post-election situation in Tanzania, Kenya is worried about the plight of its nationals who are in the neighboring country.
Tula, this is a diplomatic verbal. Diplomatic note verbal that comes from Kenya to Tanzania. Minister of Foreign Affairs engaging the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Tanzania, raising the issues around that they've lodged a formal complaint about many Kenyans who have either been killed or disappeared post the elections of 9 October. And the ministry from Kenya is just emphasizing their role, their duties to say that but there is a need to engage in terms of dealing with this issue. Because remember, President Hassan, he said that there are foreign elements who are fueling this electoral violence. But Mudavadi, who is the foreign minister of Kenya, saying that they are worried because we have more than 250 people who are working and living in Tanzania. So this might cause a diplomatic rout between the African community as well as the family.
And this peace deal between Rwanda and the DRC continues, it continues to just take shape and perhaps the finite details being worked out.
That is quite true, Tulas, but this meeting of the fourth Joint Oversight Committee for Peace Agreement between DRC and Rwanda, managed by the U.S., Tulas, they have signed what they call Regional Economic Integration Framework. But even if you have this regional economic integration, Tulas, they say with new concept of operations and operational order. And that's where we are saying we are linking peace, stability, and economic progress. They are still pillars on dealing with the neutralizing the FDLR group and also the issue of both parties pillars and the language is on international forums because it will undermine the peace process. They've also noted the Doha process that is going on between the DRC and the M23. So the peace process of the US pillars is shaking and shaking, and we'll see what will happen. The AU is an observer. Togo also is an observer in this process.
And then lastly, Sipho, in your historical archive, you are going to take us to 10 November 1985. Tell me what happened.
Tulas, it's almost 40 years when the medical doctor, politician, the great-grandson of Puti Moroka, the first of the Varalombo Moroka in Kimancho, passed away. This is James Tebe Moroka, the active member of the African National Congress, who became the president until 1950. Even if you read Long Walk to Freedom of Nelson Mandela class about the unlikely choice of Moroka that he was, they say during the time of Moroka, there were tensions that were going on during that time. So it's interesting. So our listeners can just take along with to freedom, look at what the former President Nelson Mandela says about the former President of the ANC, Quentin Moroka.
Wait, Sipho,
Interesting moment.
is he the one who was fetched from his surgery by the militant youth and and brought to the door of the conference, and they were checking is your membership in place? And oh no, it isn't, and it was renewed. And is he the one?
Yes, he is the one who was calling the ANC African National Council at some point.
Yes.
But he's linked to the policies of the Native Congress. But those are the questions of the particular thing. It is an honor that he's been ANC put in as one of the founding presidents in the almost a centenary the oldest liberation movement in South Africa. Asante sana Thulas for leading the conversation.
Sipho, thank you for that. I'm always fascinated by that story. It sounds to me like one of those political dramas of the time, right? You don't want this guy who's leading the party now, so you mobilize. And in the telling of the story, I've heard someone saying that they asked around who's got a car, and then they found someone who has a car, and they said, "It's a doctor we know. His name is Dr. Moroka. Let's go check him." And they found him at his surgery, and they brought him, and they said, "Is your membership in place?" And no, it isn't. And then they renewed it. And a few minutes later, he was president of the ANC. Oh, what a moment in history. Thank you for that, Sipho.
The Expresso Morning Show has been nominated in 5 categories in the 3rd Annual National Film and Television Awards South Africa.
It all happens on Saturday, the 22nd of November, 2025, at the South African State Theatre in Pretoria. And public voting is open from the 13th of October to the 20th of November at midday.
So visit nationalfilmacademy.com, register, and vote for Expresso Morning Show in all 5 categories.
Then, of course, catch us weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. right here on S3.
At school, I was falling behind. They thought I wasn't trying, bruh. Truth is, I couldn't see well, and I felt as small as the words on the board. And then, teacher came to sit with me and realized I needed glasses. Bruh, now everything's changed.
Take time to listen. With enough love and support, children don't just catch up, they thrive.
Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Together, we can change their future.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
16 minutes to 7. The country's debt counseling industry may be heading for a major shake-up as consumer watchdogs warn of rising exploitation of cash-strapped households. The National Debt Counseling Association says rogue operators are luring desperate consumers with false promises. Chairperson of that association, Renee Monsami, says that a new fit and proper standard is being proposed to ensure only qualified, ethical counselors operate in the sector with stronger oversight aligned to broader financial services rules. While tougher regulation may raise costs slightly, she says it will ultimately protect consumers, restore trust, and prevent vulnerable people from falling into deeper debt traps. Renee Monsami, chairperson of the National Debt Counseling Association, joins me now to take that conversation forward. Renee, good morning and thank you for your time. Let's start with the problem statement. What is the problem you are seeking to fix with these proposed new standards, including that elusive standard of fit and proper?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. So we're seeing a flood of unethical or unregistered entities and individuals in the industry, and most of whom are promising consumers getting out of debt review. And that exit is unregulated. It is not in alignment with law. And in most cases, it is fraudulent or a scam. Consumers are scammed out of thousands of rands, promised to exit the debt review or keep their ITC record with some sort of form of removing their credit bureau listings in order to qualify them for further finance. But ultimately, that is not how the process works. And vulnerable consumers are exploited out of thousands of rands in hope for a better financial situation.
So what does this, play on, Renee, in terms of the desperation of the people? For instance, talk to this element of promises to get people out of legitimate debt review. Is that even possible?
Yes, there are legitimate ways to exit debt review, but as we roll over to December we're seeing more and more consumers lured in by the trap or the illusion of clearing your ITC record, clearing a blacklisting review or indicator on your credit report, or just trying to give them the hope of allowing them to qualify for further finance, which is not what the debt review process was designed to do. It is meant to help consumers restructure their finances and go on a financial literacy journey in order to get them completely out of debt, completely debt free at the end of it, and able to access any finance that they want to at the end.
So tell us what you are proposing by way of stronger regulation and tightening of the rules.
We're proposing pre-existing and well-established goals and principles to be applied to the debt counseling industry, the same goals and principles that we already see in financial services, most especially in banking and insurance. And it will allow for regulation. It will allow for the barriers to entry to be higher. It will allow for higher requirements for education, for debt counselors to be registered with the regulator, also ongoing and continuous competency checks. So things like fraud, criminal histories, or fraud indicators, or anything else that would be expected if you were dealing with a finance professional, like an accountant, or an attorney, or a financial advisor.
And I described that standard of fit and proper as being elusive because in the professions, the other professions you just alluded to now, that is the standard that is applied. What would a fit and proper debt review practitioner have to have other than the qualifications and the training and the setup being professional, etc.? What else would you have expectations of?
Well, the same expectations we'd have for other financial experts or professionals, skilled, ethical, operationally capable, not just a license on paper. There are a number of assessments that apply to other financial experts, ongoing assessments of competence and integrity, and the other educational requirements that we spoke about. But in specific, we reference the Conduct of Financial Institutions Bill and the Treating Consumers Fairly principles. These are really well-established international standards for how clients ought to be treated when they're dealing with a financial advisor or anyone in the financial industry. So the same ought to be applied to debt counseling so that you get unbiased advice and things like complaints are handled fairly, and consumers are given the chance to deal with someone who has their best interest.
There's a caveat to it all, isn't there? That this may raise the costs of engaging a debt counselor. Talk to me a bit more about that and whether or not that's worth the pain, worth the price.
Well, ultimately, everyone that is a stakeholder in the debt review industry does not want it to be inaccessible to a consumer who's already over indebted and already in financial stress. So the cost of debt counseling has always been treated and aligned with the consumer's affordability. As it stands, the fee guidelines allow for any consumer, no matter what their affordability is, to access advice and restructuring services from a debt counselor. That will remain the same. Anyone in the industry that is involved in the process of setting regulations and guidelines for fees are going to align themselves with what is best for the consumer. We want to raise the ethical standards of debt counseling and raise the legitimacy and the professionalism of the debt review industry. And that should not impact the consumer. The consumer, in fact, should be able to access debt counseling services if and when they need it at their own convenience.
So, lastly, then, Renee, for absolute clarity and as a perhaps a public duty and an educational element, reiterate for us if I see these promises that say clear your debt instantly, are you in debt review? I can help. I can help get you out of it by clearing your debt and getting you out of it, and all of those. I can clear your name from the blacklist, from being blacklisted, etc. What are we to make of that?
Well, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. There's so much information available out there for debt review. Debt review works. It is an amazing process. Allow for consumers to become financially literate, financially viable, debt free, and consumers shouldn't be afraid of it. If you're uncertain, you can reach out to a debt counselor, especially one that is a part of an association, because they will hold each other to a higher standard and will allow for the consumer to receive advice about debt counseling processes at any time. So I would say, in the same way that you would look for an attorney, an accountant, a financial advisor, do the homework, look online for well established businesses, entities with a long standing history that you can reach out to for advice. Don't be afraid to reach out for advice. And again, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
All right. Thank you for that. Renee Monsami, chairperson of the National Debt Counseling Association.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Heavy traffic straight through the middle of Joburg. A crash on the Mike 1 going north near Oxford Road. The resultant queue all the way back at Gold Reef City. N1 north up into Deepcliff heavy this morning. Queues right back through Eldos towards the Potch Highway join. And the N3 north from Elands all the way up for a turn out towards the airport in Boxburg through Galulis. Very slow. A breakdown in amongst the roadworks on the N3 going north at Buccleuch. So the roadwork's still there. The broken down vehicle as you get through that sort of construction want to turn onto the M1 Buccleuch. So that's heavy this morning from London Road. Very big backlogs on that N3 heading north into that. The N1 south out of Pretoria, pretty busy this morning. Brockfontein down to New Road. It is back to work Monday, so it is busy, although probably par for the course, really, this time of day. The N2 coming south in Durban from Gena Road towards Spaghetti Junction. That is eased up. There was a breakdown earlier. The N2 north is queuing from Toti through Tweeny Hill up into Prospect, and that's busy. And the M7 going into Pinetown, very heavy already. Queues from Hunsdetman Highway. M13 out of Pinetown from St John's Avenue towards the N3 at Paradise Valley. That's looking quite slow. Still no joy for those traffic lights on the Kumashu Highway at Duffs Road and at the N2. If you're leaving Kumashu again this morning, it's all badly backed up on that run towards the N2 Highway. Cape Town fairly busy all over, really. Baden-Powell slow going up towards Stellenbosch at the N2 Highway. Spine Road next door, really heavy at the N2 Highway Bridge. The M7, R300 junctions in Mitchell's Plain. Both of those routes backed up towards Samora Michelle. And the N7 North is as bad as it has been for a while. You're going to sit from the, well, in fact, Vangate Mall territory. That's where you'll pick up the traffic. Goes right through Langa Epping, right through to Voortrekker Road in the Goodwood area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, let's turn to local governance. The eThekwini Ratepayers Protest Movement, ERPM, has unveiled its proposed manifesto ahead of the next local government elections, signaling its intent to move from activism to direct political participation. At a public meeting in New Germany in Pinetown, the movement called for stronger civic engagement and accountability within the eThekwini municipality, expressing confidence that it could make a meaningful impact as part of the city council. Let's speak to Asad Gaffa, who is from the Westville Ratepayers Association, where he is chairperson. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. So, why the switch from activism to direct political involvement?
We've been calling for oversight for a very long time, and basically to oversee the governance, make sure there's no frivolous and wasteful expenditure. And we've been looking at other civic societies across, across the country, across the world, as you speak. No matter how strong civil society can be, there's only so much we can do. And basically, this move that we're calling comes at there's great thought in it and very reluctant to do it, but unfortunately, someone needs to be the adult in the room, especially in council. Now, we've been looking at how councillors have been voting, we've been looking at how parties have been voting, and it's problematic for us. I mean, one of the biggest decisions ever taken in the Equine Council was the infrastructure surcharge. And the main opposition party, which was the DA, abstained from that vote. Now, for us, that's problematic because it's either you vote a yes or you vote a no. There's two of them abstaining and coming out, etc., etc. It's a problem for us. And then on the other hand, you have smaller parties, uh, that have gotten one seat, two seats in council. They stay there till lunch, and after lunch they disappear, not participating in the actual voting that's taking place in council. So people put their trust in these councillors. Unfortunately, these councillors are letting them down. We are saying we need to set the bar high. We need to show them what a councillor is supposed to do in council and how the behavior. The reason why we're saying we would like to be in that space in order to change the narrative for eThekwini.
Are you drawing any lessons from, other civic movements, protest movements? Abahlali basemjondolo, for example, tend to just give their endorsement to a political party, and they're always willing to shift it to another political party when the situation changes. Bushbuck Ridge Residents Association had a good run, and I don't know where they stand today. Are you drawing any lessons in terms of the viability as a political platform from those kinds of examples?
100%. Remember, we as a movement, we've been demonstrating our will and our desire to change the lives of the people of eThekwini. And what we are saying is, whilst we're looking at all of these movements and how they've conducted themselves, we are saying, in fact, to be honest with you, we as a ratepayers association, because that's what we started off as, we had situations where councillors were not even doing their own doing what they're supposed to do in their own ward until we started to get involved, reporting the broken street lights, the potholes, reporting on everything and demanding it to be fixed. Then only the councillors woke up. In fact, to be honest with you, in many of the wards where we are active, councillors don't even want to, work with us to try and get it done. You would think that, the councillor of that particular area would embrace Ratings Association because moving in the right direction. But they already then they saw us as an opposition. So we're saying, if you see us as an opposition, let's participate and let's
Yeah.
show you exactly what your job is, because that's what council is to do.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. It's all shaping up to be a fascinating time as we build up to the local government elections. Asad Gaffa is the chairperson of the Westville Ratepayers Association. Brings us to 7 a.m. Dineo Motaung is on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thanks to last top story. Family of 5 killed in Ekurhuleni blaze and longest US shutdown may be ending soon. A very good morning. 5 family members have died in a shack fire at Steve Biko informal settlement in Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni last night. Ekurhuleni Emergency Services spokesperson William Ntladi says firefighters arrived and found the room shack engulfed in flames. He says the cause of the fire is not known at this stage.
And on search, rescue and recovery, 5 charred bodies were found under the burnt rubble. The cause of the fire is still undetermined and is under investigation by the SAPS officers and fire safety officers. One person, a teenager of about 19 years old, survived with no injuries because apparently his shack was built a couple of meters away from the main house.
Moving to KZN, 8 passengers in a bakkie, including 4 children, were killed when it collided with a truck while traveling in the northbound lane near the Scottsboro off-ramp last night. RTI spokesperson Cindy Msimang has more details.
This accident claimed 8 lives, 4 of whom were children between the ages of 2 and 4 years. The buggy had conveyed 10 passengers. Only 2 survived, and one is in a critical condition in hospital. It was alleged that the heavy motor vehicle was traveling on the slow lane, and the buggy rear-ended the heavy motor vehicle, resulting in multiple fatalities.
In other news, the Gauteng provincial government has condemned the vandalism of the G20 signage and revamped infrastructure across the city of Johannesburg. It is alleged criminals are targeting streetlights and essential infrastructure. The destruction includes the newly installed G20 summit signage along the route near Nasrec, south of Johannesburg. Provincial government spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga says this is concerning as the G20 Leaders Summit draws closer.
The Gauteng provincial government is extremely concerned that the investment we have made to upgrade our road infrastructure is now being undermined by criminals. The criminals are targeting infrastructure such as traffic signals as well as streetlights, where the repairs have recently been completed. We call upon members of the public to work with the police to ensure that these criminals are arrested. It has become clear in our view that this is not just petty crime, but it is organized, it is deliberate, and that it is orchestrated by people who have something to gain from the vandalism.
Moving to the Western Cape, correctional services officials, with the help of police, have rearrested a convicted inmate who escaped from the Helderstrom Correctional Facility in Caledon in the Overberg. Spokesperson Singabako Nxumalo says Jacob September escaped yesterday morning while working at the animal grazing area. September is serving a life sentence for rape and murder imposed in 2011. Nxumalo says officers from Viliersdorp and Caledon assisted in the rearrest and an internal investigation will be launched into the escape. Lastly, the U.S. Senate is urging closer to a deal that could end the longest federal government shutdown in history. Now in its 41st day, Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune says he's hopeful a funding agreement can be reached with Democrats who are pushing to extend healthcare subsidies as part of the deal. Joan Brass-Peace reports.
Senators were expected to vote late Sunday night to advance a House-passed bill that would be amended to combine a short-term funding measure which would fund the government through January 2026. The package includes 3 full-year appropriations bills. Reports suggest that as part of the agreement, the Senate would agree to hold a separate vote later on the healthcare subsidies. The shutdown has furloughed hundreds of thousands of federal workers, affected government services, food aid, parks, and air travel, with thousands of flights cancelled in recent days. Sherman Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
Recapping the top story at 7, 5 family members have died in a shack fire at the Steve Biko informal settlement in eThwathwa, Ekurhuleni last night. Headlines at 7:30 for SAFM News. I'm Dino Montau.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Deals come and go with Black Friday, but this Outsurance deal is here to stay. Get a quote, and if Outsurance can't beat your car insurance premium, ask them for 500 Rand cash. Make that 1,500 Rand cash if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. You could get monthly premium savings or at least 500 Rand cash. Get more out. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, soccer action. Amajimbos advance to the FIFA Under-17 World Cup knockout stages. And in tennis, Carlos Alcaraz opens his ATP Finals campaign with a straight sets win over Alex de Minaur. Details just before 7:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
On Joburg's Mike 1 straight through the middle of town. It's a crash scene up by Oxford Road in Parktown. The resultant queue all the way back through to Gold Reef City. M2 coming through from Joe Slover to join that Mike 1 at Crown. Very heavy as well. Big queues this morning up from Eldo's on the M1. Major delays there from the Potch Highway up towards the Deep Cliff interchange for a turn down to Uncle Charlie's. Absolutely jam-packed. Broken down vehicle in the roadworks on the N3 north at Buccleuch. So queues there already formed back towards Alex and looking heavy. And if you're leaving Ekurhuleni N12 at Atlas Road, that's slow from Benoni the N17 from Springs, heavy into the Boksburg Road construction areas. Pretoria this morning, all fairly standard. There is a bit of a queue at the Duranport Plaza to watch out for. And if you're leaving Montana, Sefaka Makato lights down at Bread Street before the N1, so Montana towards the highway fairly busy. Breakdown at Cliffdale now, so on your way out to Pietermaritzburg, that traffic from Key Ridge is starting to backlog. M7 into Pinetown Extreme, queues back as far as Hans Detman. Lights are out along that Kwamashu highway still. And Cape Town, just a warning, if you use the N7, it's a big surprise this morning. It's absolutely jam-packed. Traffic sitting all the way from Vangate Mall right up to Voortrekker Road. Southbound pretty heavy as well going into Voortrekker, but it's that northbound that's an issue. And the N1 inbound, no lights at the Sable Road exit. It's heavy from Brackenfell all the way through past that Sable exit down towards Cuba. Get a change. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 7 on this Monday, it's great to be in your company. Welcome to it, the second hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Coming up in this hour, we'll start off talking about yet another weekend of senseless murder in the gang killing fields of the Cape Flats, with 3 men shot dead in Delft on Sunday morning. We'll be in conversation with Reginald Jacob Hills of the Delft Community Policing Forum, the CPF, in that area. Immediately after that, we'll then touch base on that story about the WhatsApp situation and how it is believed to be hindering the work of the country's intelligence agencies, right, when they have a warrant for interception. So lawful interception is what we are talking about, not the interception of the other kind, you know, where Big Brother listens in without letting you know that they are listening in. So the complaint apparently is that the end-to-end encryption of WhatsApp and similar apps really that have end-to-end encryption means that there's a massive loophole. And this is according to a classified report from the Inspector General of Intelligence that the Sunday World has seen and has reported extensively on. So we'll be in conversation with Lerato Ntwampe, social media lawyer, to just unpack what the law looks like as far as that goes. Your calls on 086 000 2032, your WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107. Let's get into it then. The second hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief.
Bafana and Chipolopolo have a massive meeting on the battlefield. This is not just an international friendly. The two nations are gearing up for the Africa Cup of Nations. Witness the Southern African Derby, South Africa versus Zambia, on Saturday, 15 November at 5:30 p.m. live on SABC Plus and SABC 2. Then on SABC radio stations at 6 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. You could spend 10 minutes waiting for the microwave to beep, or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Suzuki Jimny, 55-year-old Stefan now pays only 611 Rand a month. And for her 2024 Kia Sonet, 31-year-old Palisa pays just 926 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
You are listening to the Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane.
Yeah, sadly, it's been another weekend of senseless murder in the gang killing fields of the Cape Flats. 3 men shot dead in Delft on Sunday morning in what police believe was yet another gang-linked attack, the latest in a string of mass shootings that have rocked Cape Town's most vulnerable communities. Just last week, we reported on 5 people that were killed in separate attacks in Mannenberg and Hanover Park, while 2 others were gunned down in Mitchell's Plain earlier this month, deepening fears of a deadly turf war. Police have reinforced anti-gang unit deployments across hotspots from Delft to Bishop Lavis as community activists warn that residents are living in constant fear and the violence is rising faster then law enforcement can respond. Let's speak to Reginald Jacob Hills, the chairperson, the deputy chairperson of the Delft Community Policing Forum. Good morning to you, and thank you for your time. At times like these, I don't even know what to say to you as a community leader. In your own words, paint what this incident means in the community, in the context of a community that had already been rocked by this kind of violence for quite some time now.
Good morning. As a deputy chairperson of the Delft Police, I condemn the men. I'll talk about the family of the victim. We urge residents to be vigilant and report this. Uh, is- if you get gunshots, stay indoors and avoid the area. Keep windows and doors and try to stay away from windows. We recently held a lock around the 8th of 11, 2025. Uh, dialogue to engage with our young people and provide opportunities to gang involvement. It's concerning to see youth on the street at 4 a.m. in the mornings, not because they are focused on positive goals, likely involved in harmful activities. Through youth and wondering at that maybe a lot more on this. Um, let's put in this guiding our youth towards a brighter future. Like I said, now we commend them for the effort and how the essential putting for crime campaign 0600 681 or via my steps together we make it the other place.
So it's
Because
interesting
I'm
that,
actually shocked.
yeah, sorry.
I'm actually shocked. Yes.
I was saying
And
it's actually interesting that part of the response that you mentioned right at the start of this conversation had to do with survival behavior on the part of communities. You talked about when they hear gunshots, people should avoid going outside, stay away from windows, and the likes. Has it really come down to that where you almost accept that gunshots are heard constantly in the community, and the best you can do as a community is try and survive the bouts of gun violence?
we as a CPF, we report that when we hear the shot going off, we actually report to the shopping step by now around. We've got so many so far, but with the help of the community in combating this crime, we've done such a lot already. But steps is still and then unit, law enforcement agents, always on patrol, trying to get the guns moving. But it was seriously shocked and saddened by yesterday's incident into their court, Sandra Street. Later, we condemn this act of violence and condemn commission the first response because self was put on the scene when the incident was at 5 in the morning. And self was there, and we couldn't without our who was working overtime and we were busy the whole time. I was really, but really putting their life as well.
So when
They
we
also try.
So when you hear us lumping it all together, these incidents that have happened in the Cape Flats in recent months, and we say gang-related gang killings and the likes, are there elements that are unique in how it manifests in the various communities? Because when we say the Cape Flats, we're counting many communities: Mitchell's Plain, Bishop Lavis, Ravensmead, Elsa's, Rafir, Delft, Philippi, etc., and so on and so on. But are there elements that you can talk to as a community that are uniquely Delft manifestations of this problem?
So on that one, I don't know if you want to comment to me. But there's something very dangerous in the built into it. Because sometimes there's so things I don't have any comment on that.
I get you. Then lastly, we've been hearing calls for more stringent enforcement, law enforcement, more boots on the ground. In fact, some even calling for a state of emergency, localized state of emergency, curfews, the SANDF getting roped in. In this interview, you've said a lot commending the SAPS. Do you believe that their efforts need to be supplemented by these extra measures that some are calling for, more on the extreme side of things, your state of emergency, localized, your SANDF involvement, and the likes?
As I said, the SEP is doing a lot. And yes, hope to us because now they can't complete time. And as a community, now, because if crime is not reported, that won't be able to show. So it is also the importance of the community to describe. Also to when they see something happening, you need to report immediately. Should not self. So steps is just we need more. Also the law enforcement. But I commend those law enforcement who is also the and steps there. Steps to have the handful on the other side of the law, the other side to combat. Yes, more both are needed. I think they are for government. So now, getting jumping and so. Or need from the step side in down. And our station commander and release the local station commander are doing it in.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time, Reginald Jacob
You're
Hills, who is the deputy chairperson of the Delft Community Policing Forum.
Big stories of the day. Hashtag the morning brief.
All right, credit to the Sunday World for their initial reporting on this story. Big Brother is watching and listening, but your encrypted WhatsApp messages are getting in the way, and intelligence bosses say they are not getting the full picture. A classified report from the Inspector General of Intelligence, seen by Sunday World, has asked the police minister to push cabinet for new laws that would force WhatsApp to allow interception of calls, voice notes, and chats. Right now, even with a warrant, law enforcement cannot access encrypted WhatsApp messages, and the IGI says criminals are exploiting this massive loophole. Let's speak to Lerato Ntwampe, social media lawyer, also consultant. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So what does the picture look like at the moment in terms of regulation of interception of communication under the various schemes of the law that are at play? Can law enforcement at the moment intercept WhatsApp messages?
Good morning, Phyllis. Absolutely not. True. They can't intercept WhatsApp conversations because the point of WhatsApp are encrypted, which means that the sender and the receiver can read the content of that message. So nobody can intercept the message and read the content of the WhatsApp messages, even WhatsApp itself. So it is quite difficult to try and intercept. So the ways we've been obviously me and you are in a conversation. I'm sort of after for some sort of illegal activity. What they can do is that they can have access to the message to your phone through the conversations that you have.
Yeah.
There's
So
various ways in how they do that.
So sorry, Lerato. I was just
Sorry.
jumping in on that point that it's the kind of situation that we've seen at the Madlanga Commission, isn't it? Where they have access to one of the parties' phones and they're able to then see those WhatsApp messages.
Absolutely. So that's how it is. So it's the use of screenshots with other devices. So we live in this era where sometimes your phone is synced to your laptop or it's synced to your tablet. That's also another way where, sometimes they can get a warrant without your knowledge and maybe try and retrieve those messages from your laptop. And in often instances, they are able to get that information with they also are able to get the information or access the information through cloud backup. So if you backed up your WhatsApp messages and you haven't really specified with WhatsApp that you want it to be, your backup messages to be encrypted, you are able to sort of, get in, they can intercept in that way where there's your either Google Drive or Apple Drive or your WhatsApp cloud, and they're able to access messages through that way. But it's difficult to obviously intercept. You have to do it in illegal means like hacking or sending a phishing scam where you can sort of install a
Yeah.
spyware. Yeah, and taking the link and then the link sort of to your WhatsApp, and that way they are able to sort of intercept as that is
Yeah.
as it.
So, someone listening to this will say, well, it's a good thing, isn't it, that we can have conversations and be guaranteed and secured in the privacy of those conversations. What is broken about this scheme such that the IGI would describe it as a massive loophole? Where do we strike the balance between privacy on the one hand and issues that affect our security on the other hand?
So I mean, you take on always protect their consumers, and I think that's how they've sort of been leading, and they refuse information, and this is a court order. But even if it's a court order, it is really difficult when you consider the jurisdiction of some of these tech companies. So it has become difficult. And I think it's a major loophole because criminal syndicates are using these platforms to sort of get away with a lot. It is preventing crime intelligence and agencies from actually preventing certain crimes from happening or even trying to this crime. So unless they have access or there's some sort of whistleblower who's able to give them the information, it is very difficult. So we have cases where someone in a WhatsApp group or community sort of forward and is able to sort of survive. And that's how sometimes the information is found and in other ways as well. So I think it is a huge issue when it comes to obviously criminal cases. But I also think the rot is also the non-compliance with RICA. I think RICA is not really doing enough in terms of ensuring that people are registering properly because you can literally buy a SIM card from a shop. ID is not required there. Your physical proof of address is not required. And that's a major sort of issue as well in terms of so if you are sort of registered, but if you buy a SIM card from other shop, for example, or my friends, it is difficult to sort of have this in the database that crime intelligence will sort of use and find your number that you use in WhatsApp sort of track
Yeah.
you. So it does come to
Sure. So a number of loopholes. So if the proposals of the Inspector General of Intelligence are to be taken forward with that kind of intervention that would make it possible for law enforcement agencies and intelligence agencies to lawfully intercept WhatsApp communications, what reconciliations would need to happen in the law with such laws as the Cyber Crimes Act, for example, and POPIA?
So I think implementation and enforcement, I think that's major. These are really that legislation that essentially protects the victim or protects people, but the enforcement of the laws is quite difficult because even the Crime and Cyber Act in terms of harassment, and it does provide that the court can actually get some sort of a warrant and able to actually identify who the perpetrator is. But because of the implementation, it's very difficult to get. Even service providers sometimes the police themselves don't know how to go about getting that information. So in terms of implementation, I think it might be difficult. And also I think, companies as well to operate. I think that's a huge hurdle. And we've seen with other countries that planning together because obviously they can't sort of look after safety. So there are those extreme cases like, okay, we're just going to manage. Obviously, sort of get into some sort of conversation with companies that will allow us to intercept. So I think it's quite a complex one, and it will be interesting to see how it goes.
Because a lot of people, Lerato, have been worried since this conversation started that soon the law enforcement agencies will be able to see our view once messages.
No, absolutely not. I think tech companies are very, very protective of the consumer, and it will really, really, provide a big problem. I think
Yeah.
people will lose that, and I think we see that even when a few years ago, a lot of people they moved to Telegram and Signal
Yeah.
because of WhatsApp. I just forgot what they were
Yeah.
introducing at the time.
I remember
But
that.
people were just like, we're leaving.
Yeah.
They will other company that sort of pick up the slack, and we've seen an increase of numbers in Signal as well as Telegram because they also provide sort of data, especially in settings and community settings, provide better encryption than
Right.
WhatsApp. So I think, you know, for
Yeah.
it's a conversation. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for having me.
All right, thank you for that. Social media legal consultant and attorney Lerato Ntwampe there weighing in on that. So yeah, from what it seems at the moment, your view once is safe for now.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zai, good morning to you. Amajimbo's march on despite their loss to Italy.
Absolutely, Tulas. Amajimbos are through. Clearly, they didn't get the memo that Mondays are for slowing down. But you know what? 3-1. They were defeated by Italy, but nevertheless, they finished the group phase on 4 points. Amajimbos will now prepare for a round of 16 clash, and that's later this week. So they're through to the knockout phase. Now let's go to cricket. South Africa A pulling off one of their finest run chases, beating India A by 5 wickets in Bengaluru to level the unofficial Test series, chasing 417. South Africa A were powered by half centuries across the top order. Jordan Herman with 91, Lesejo Senekwane on 77, Zubair Hamza on 77, Temba Bavuma 59, and Connor Esterhazen 52 not out. And definitely the tone was set there, and we know that there'll be some good results from there as well. Now, Proteas women coach Mandla Mashimbi says this World Cup has reshaped his squad not just in skill but in character. He believes learning, reflection, and accountability are what separates good teams from great ones, and says the Proteas women showed exactly that on their journey to the final.
There's nothing better than a growing person that you would meet in life. Somebody that's willing to grow and become better version of themselves. And these girls have shown that throughout. When you watched our games, you could see them playing with passion, see them playing with heart, you could see the dives on the field, you could see the catches that we took, the fight that we've shown, and it just shows what this team means to each and every one of them, and they're willing to fight for one another.
Motorsport, Lando Norris tightened his grip on the Formula One Championship with victory at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Mercedes teenager Kimi Antonelli claimed an impressive second, while Max Verstappen stormed from the pit lane to third. And finally, golf, Casey Jarvis has secured his first Sunshine Tour title, winning the Hyundai Open at Ibotse Links. He edged Ryan van Velsen by one shot, holding par at the last to seal victory, while rookie Warwick Purchase finished a strong third at 20 under. That's your spot. We'll swing back with more on the morning brief. I'm Zai Khan.
With the headlines at 7:30, I'm Dinomo Daung. Good morning. 5 family members have died in a shack fire at the Steve Biko informal settlement in Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni last night. In other news, retired Ekurhuleni Deputy Chief of Police Rivo Spies will continue his testimony at the Madlanga Commission this morning. And the Gauteng provincial government has condemned the vandalism of G20 signage and revamped infrastructure across the city of Johannesburg. It is alleged criminals are targeting streetlights and essential infrastructure. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Here we are, back to work Monday. How's the situation on the roads? Well, let's get straight into it. Joburg's Mike 1 under some pressure today, coming through from Gold Reef City up to an earlier crash at Oxford Road. That's quite heavy. And then you're sitting some more traffic once you get past that scene, up through towards Melrose. Fairly slow on the southbound side down towards that Caller Drive Melrose exit as well. N3 under some more pressure than normal for Modderfontein Road up to Beclue. It's the Roadworks Plus, a breakdown inside Beclue. That N3 is really just crawling and inching along in some big volume delays this morning. N1's fairly heavy as well from the Potch Highway up to Dipcliff and then passing Soweto on your way towards the Ridderport up towards the Albertina Sisulu off-ramp. Quite a heavy backlog there as well. N1 busy but standard for a Monday as you come through Brockfontein down towards New Road. No traffic lights at the Sefaka Makato option just before you get to the N1 highway. So leaving Montana, that is really busy. A crash coming out of Mamelodi on Solomon Mshlungu at the N4. And there's quite a big queue of traffic this morning into Durham-Port Plaza on that section of the N4. If you're coming through and wanting to get through to the highway, the N1 highway, that N4 is unusually backed up. Durban still very busy from Tweeny Hill into Prospector. The M7 into Pinetown is very heavy. Queues from as far back as Hans Detman Highway. Breakdown at Cliffdale, so delays on your way out to Peter Maritzburg. Not as bad as it can be, but it is still very slow. And Cape Town, the N7, absolutely jam-packed this morning. Northbound from Langa up towards Goodwood. Southbound coming through to Ford Trekker Road, fairly heavy as well. And no traffic lights. N1 inbound at Sable Road, causing chaos behind that. The N7 sits from Plattercliff Road all the way down to join that busy N1. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The business update on SAFM.
All right, let's turn to Ndauling once again. Ndauling, all eyes are on the Finance Minister, Enoch Godongwana, preparing to deliver the medium-term budget policy statement, yeah?
That's right, Tula. So Africans are bracing for the mini budget on Wednesday, a key test of government's fiscal discipline as the economy faces a fragile rebound and global uncertainty. Economists expect Treasury to lower its growth forecast slightly, with weaker investment exports weighing on the outlook. Still, the Reserve Bank sees gradual improvement ahead, supported by easing power and logistics pressures, lower inflation, and softer interest rates. Now, in a Business Day article, City economist Gina Skuman forecast the main budget deficit moving to 4.4% of GDP and the primary surplus rising 1.2%, driven by stronger revenue collection and higher commodity prices. But he warns the gains are cyclical and not structural, meaning government borrowing will likely remain steady. For consumers, slower growth and higher debt could translate into tighter public spending. And in an IOL article, Budget Insurance's Kando Ngibe said while no new taxes are expected, SARS is set to intensify audits and compliance checks. The market will watch for clarity on inflation targeting after Minister Gorongwana hinted at aligning with the Reserve Bank's preferred 3% goal.
Oh, yeah. So finally, we will get clarity on that point. And also, just interestingly, Dowling, there's less drama around the medium-term budget policy statement as opposed to the retakes we had to do.
Going to be budget. It's more of an update than it is like
Yeah,
being made. So I guess not much to argue about.
I see. That's why we're not seeing all that drama. Tell me why the Prudential Authority is slapping Discovery Bank with a hefty fine.
Yeah, Discovery Bank becoming the latest financial institution to let face regulation as the Prudential Authority tightens informants of the Financial Intelligence Center Act. Now, the digital bank was fined 3 million rands, with 1 million rand suspended for 3 years after a 2021 inspection revealed lapses in reporting suspicious transactions, training staff, and responding to transaction alerts. Now, while the PA found no evidence of money laundering, it flagged weakness in the bank's risk management system and issued four formal cautions. The Discovery Bank said it had already addressed the compliance gaps before the inspection and remains committed to upholding the highest standards of regulatory transparency. Now, the sanction adds to a growing list of financial institutions, including the likes of Citibank, fined this year for similar compliance shortcomings as South Africa continues to tighten its anti-money laundering framework following being removed from the FATF grey list. PA's action suggests tougher stance on accountability, even for newer tech-driven banks once low risk.
Then lastly, Dowling, how are we looking at the in the markets at this moment?
Starting in Asia, now mixed with Japanese and South Korean stocks leading gains on a rebound in tech shares, while China lagged even as data showed mild improvement in
inflation. Looking at what's playing out in the US, which is in positive territory, as analysts are hopeful that the government shutdown is coming to an end after an important vote passed in Senate overnight. Oil also making gains on the back of that optimism, trading just over $60 per barrel this hour. And coming back home, trade closed negatively last week with the oil shade down over 1%. The rand, in the meantime, steady this morning at 17.47.
All right, Ndauling, thank you for that. We'll touch base with you one more time just after 8:30. And that update, Ndauling, will give you a sense of the kind of trading day you can expect on this Monday.
48 nations, one dream.
The FIFA Under-17 World Cup hits Qatar and Mzansi's Amajimbos are in the fight.
It's game on everywhere. From 3 to 27 November, catch the action live on SABC Plus, SABC Radio, and SABC TV.
Download SABC Plus now. Stream, listen, watch.
SABC Sport, for the love of the game.
Ish, at school I was falling behind. They thought I wasn't trying, bruh. Truth is, I couldn't see well, and I felt as small as the words on the board. And then, teacher came to sit with me and realized I needed glasses. Bruh, now everything's changed.
Take time to listen. With enough love and support, children don't just catch up, they thrive.
Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Together, we can change their future.
Call Thulasizwe now. 086 000 2032.
All right, let me take a few of your voice notes. I have Lucas and Siabonga lined up as far as the calls go. But let me start with the voice notes. A lot of you wanting to comment about the proposed changes that the Inspector General of Intelligence is proposing to enable law enforcement and the intelligence agencies to be able to intercept communications sent or done via WhatsApp, end-to-end encrypted communications. Let's hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, Tulas, yeah, that's the nature of technology. Technology comes up with simple and approach and quick approach. But behind those quick approach and simple approach, yeah, there are repercussions and some other scamming activities. The artificial intelligence also is coming up. So around those, you're gonna get some problems such as cyber crime, cyber cheating, and so on and so on. Yes.
Yeah, Willie, thank you for that. Always important to constantly keep up with the technologies, right? So that there's, we get to enjoy these technologies, but also in terms of, regulation, you are also keeping up without unduly restraining our ability to use and our freedoms, of course, without intruding into our personal spaces and our freedoms.
Hi, Thulasizwe and listeners. You see, Thulasizwe, that is why you can hear from the clever guys like Becky Taylor and that never sends messages. It's because they're aware of the fact that the stuff are traceable. They're aware of it. Why do you think they do not text? The phone call you can't intercept unless you're hacking it as it's happening. But once a call is completed, you can't get that information back. So they know for the fact they just call, they don't WhatsApp, yet they have WhatsApps on their phone.
Yeah.
Really strange.
Yeah, I hear you. But of course, this, as far as the ordinary phone calls are concerned over your network, not over WhatsApp, as far as I know, you can intercept those, and it is done with a warrant and has been done without a warrant a few times illegally. But the cry now is that with the WhatsApp calls, it's a blind spot. You simply can't. And Zalma here in studio has been laughing about this issue of view once, that even your view once, even if law enforcement suspect that there's something in that view once that they would want to see, they have no technological wherewithal to intercept your view once. Someone wants to talk about the drainage system in KwaZulu-Natal.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. Good morning to the SAFM listeners. Thulasizwe, the past weekend we saw very heavy rain and floods in the town of Newcastle in KZN. You'll recall that not so long ago, the very close town to Newcastle called Ladysmith faced the same thing. I think it's high time that we invest more on the drainage system for many of these towns in KZN, because that's where the biggest problem seems to be. Sewanele, Pretoria.
Segwanele, thank you for that. One of our regular callers. Solid point there, Segwanele, to look at. I remember vividly the images coming out of Ladysmith because the town was inundated, wasn't it? You saw local restaurants and establishments, with water levels really, really high, and the roads just difficult to navigate. I remember what you are talking about exactly. So it's a conversation worth having as we are entering the rainy season in many parts of the country. Siyabonga Khanyile in KZN. Good morning.
Good morning, Thulas and FFM listeners.
Good morning.
Just wanted to contribute or reflect on the comment by the ratepayers to say they want to
Yes.
the government vision is that they'll make impact. I just want to say that there's a misconception on how council works. Because if you look at the Westville, for example, it will have maybe 2 or 3 wards in a council that has about 90 or over 90 wards. There is no budget that is specified for Westville, a budget for the whole council. And they will be frustrated when they get to be elected and they go into office and they realize that 3 councillors or 3 representatives in 5 will not make dent in terms of decision making. I always feel that as South Africans, we don't really seem to understand what is the problem local government and why is it developed.
Yeah.
And as I about to stand down, I want to say consider 3 major contributors. One is the capacity of elected. And in most instances, you find that councillors don't have the capacity. Mayors don't have the capacity. And in turn, the mayor and his executive are involved in the process of recruiting the city manager and municipal manager. If that recruitment is led by the people that are not so good up, it means then you'll end up with the wrong city manager. And again, the knock-on effect is that will appoint also people that are not able to deliver.
Yeah.
And then that's how things get wrong. So in essence, the recruitment process is also skewed in local government.
All right.
The best companies in the world, they invest a lot in recruitment. They appoint people that are fit for purpose.
Yeah.
In local government, we appoint anyone and everyone. Thank you. That's my contribution.
Powerful reflections. Thank you for that, Siyabonga. Do call again. That's Siyabonga Khanyile in KZN with those really powerful reflections as far as local government is concerned. Let me go to Lucas in Zanin. Good morning to you, Lucas.
Morning to us and morning to the listeners of FM. To us, myself, I want to talk about the call by the Gauteng spokesperson Elijah Mshasanga. He calls about he's calling for community to assist the police about the people who are vandalizing the
Yes.
Yeah, so for me, I think it's missing the point because we are paying him or them to do that. So because if we are trying to assist, then they arrest us. Like, look, people are here illegally. We don't know who they are and we don't know what they are doing. So for us, it's criminal itself. And then I don't think in South Africa fix that refuse that the laws are the criminal. So now they call us. But if we assist them, they refuse.
I think I hear what you're saying, Lucas. So you are saying because law enforcement are refusing the assistance, let's just be blunt, of organizations such as Operation Dudula, for example, because they refuse that assistance as far as immigration law enforcement is concerned. In your view, they shouldn't expect any assistance with the other aspects of law enforcement, including this call on infrastructure vandalism.
Yes, true.
But who's the loser ultimately in that approach that says, because you don't want us engaging in these activities, we're just going to disengage and not report crimes and not report vandalism? Who's the ultimate loser there in that scenario, Lucas?
Look, when we are trying to assist, we are just killed. If investigations are done, no one will be praised. You see, so we
That's the
are
other
on the
element,
risk.
yeah.
We are the ones who are losing as a police. They are not losing anything.
Whistleblowers get killed.
Yes.
Sure, it's a difficult one. All right, thank you for raising it, Lucas. Let's hear what other
Thank you,
people will
thank
have to say about your take on those issues. Victor in Soshanguve, good morning.
Good morning, Tulas. How are you?
Very well, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. You know, I'm a very patriotic South African, and I love it when South African business thrive because they create employment for the majority of people. But at the same time, it worries me to see a business like MultiChoice leading customers to the right with doing some event inspection that would help them to solve that problem. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example. You don't pay your subscription, let's say for half of the month. They will block you. When you want to pay, they will charge you 50 connection fee. But most importantly, rate your premium to say for the past 15 days we have not been watching our utilizing our service. You don't pay for that. Modus operandi is a cell phone providers as well. Your Vumax, Vodacom, etc. People would like someone is listening to improve them to listen strategy because it is now forcing a lot of people to ditch multi-thread and then for this streaming services. I'm just saying that we are letting our businesses down because they are letting us down. That leads to a lot of people losing their jobs, which is not what we want.
So they must be
That's what I wanted
adaptable.
to
They
let
must be adaptable, you say, Victor, and meet the customer at their point of need. So this prorating of the charges, for example, is an example that you are giving where you say they are not responsive to, sometimes you don't pay because your money is not quite there at the moment, and then you want to pay by the 12th of the month, but they don't then prorate to say, actually, you're not going to pay a fee for the first of the month to the end of the month. Is that what you're talking about?
Absolutely. You got me 100% on.
All right.
Thank you.
Victor, thank you for that. That's Victor and Soshanguve there. An interesting take on that dynamic. As far as I know, though, as far as the paid TV subscription like MultiChoice, I think it then readjusts. So from the date on which you pay, that becomes your new monthly cycle, such that if you've paid on the 12th of the month, then the subscription, I stand to be corrected, of course, but my understanding is that your subscription, the month will then run from that day to the same date the next month. But it detracts nothing from the point that Victor was making about subscription-based services needing to be responsive and meeting their customers at their point of need.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Let's start off in Pretoria. If you use the N4, the Rustenburg or Bakwena Highway every morning through Durham Plaza, give yourself a stack of time to get through this morning. It is heavy once you come past that Bonaccord exit and line up towards the plazas. Some big traffic there, very unusual for this time on a Monday morning. Joburg's Mike Winer crash at Oxford Road going north. That's still causing backlogs through the Crown. And then just busy both ways into Corlett Drive, southbound from Buccleuch and northbound from that crash in the Parktown area. Collision coming out of Benoni on the N12 by Atlas Road, so that's very slow from Tom Jones. And the N17 leading Brackpan through Boxburg remains busy in that single lane roadwork section. Also the N1 out of Soweto this morning, quite slow as you make your way up towards the Rudaport area. Durban side, we've had a couple of breakdowns at Cliffdale this morning. Still got one there. So from Key Ridge, there is some traffic if you're heading towards Pietermaritzburg. Very busy at the Spaghetti Junction. N3 from Paradise Valley, very heavy into 4 level. And the N2 going north is queuing up as you line up from the M7 through Spaghetti Junction towards Westwood Mall. More queues heading up towards the Queen Nundy Drive exit as well on that northbound. That looking very slow. And Cape Town, a high volume back to work Monday. Give you an example of that. The N1 is full of traffic. There's 2 queues to work through. One coming from Kraaifontein into sort of Brackenfell Boulevard territory. Once you get past that, you're really straight away back in the traffic from about Old Oak Road right through to the city centre. M3 from just after Constantia, so Weinberg Hill up to Hospital Bend's busy. Jake's Hervel Drive, slow standstill from Langa moving through towards Voortrekker. And before you get into that, there's also a crash on the M7 Jake's Hervel at the N2. So coming out of Mitchell's Plain, big queues from sort of Turfall Road up past Vangate Mall towards that scene. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations, and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Streaming Skim Sum on the way to class.
Catching the Premier League while waiting for your order.
Jamming to Metro FM before you even get out of bed.
On SABC Plus, sinayo yonke into ifunayo. Your shows, your music, your way, anytime, anywhere. Zero subscription fees.
On your phone, tablet, or smart TV.
Download SABC Plus on iOS or Google Play Store.
Thulasizwe Simelane on SAFM.
6 minutes to 8 on this Monday morning. You will have seen this disturbing video a couple of days ago, but also the reporting of the Sunday Times on this story yesterday. A protest by deaf pupils at a KwaZulu-Natal boarding school, triggering investigations into shocking claims of sexual and physical abuse by teachers and hostel staff. Learners at Kwatindwa School for the Deaf say they reported a list of 28 grievances, including rape, molestation, and beatings, but were ignored even after approaching police, education officials, and the Human Rights Commission. Videos circulating online show pupils protesting behind burning barricades, demanding protection and the removal of the principal they say doesn't know sign language and protects the abusers. Let's speak to Dipulelo Tema, who is Secretary General of the South African National Association of Special Education. Good morning to you and thank you for your time. So it's a distressing video to watch, given the various layers of vulnerability that those young people would be exposed to. Tell me what your understanding of the situation is as Sanase.
Good morning, Thulasizwe and SAFM listeners. Thank you for having us. We surely have gone through the article that's published yesterday, but we also have made our little bit of investigation. And for the fact that the issue has got symptoms of a legal process, as he outlined, that the Human Rights Commission and the Department of Education are investigating this matter.
Mm-hmm.
We think that the matter is kind of sub judice, and therefore we do not want to get too much into the merits. But I can confirm that there is a win also that there may be some level of instigation of children by others, So, but it's important that we wait for this process to unfold so that the law takes effect.
Mm. Say a bit more about the wind of instigation that you're picking up.
Yeah, obviously, we do not want to divulge much because we don't want to get into the way of the investigation. But as I'm saying, there are allegations at this point in time. Adults who are involved in the investigation of the children to actually have this kind of unrest. But we want to say that the way of cautioning anybody who might be involved, we want to call upon all the affected parties, including the Department of Education, to actually invoke Section 3 of Subsection 7 of the South African Schools Act. It's amended by BELA that anyone who unlawfully interrupts and disturb educational activity found guilty of an offense. And equally, those who are aware of any offenses, particularly sexual offenses, in terms of the criminal law and sexual offenses and related matters in 54, they also will be equally guilty if they are found to have known that children are being abused and they've not reported that as required by the legislation.
You might be understood, and I get the caution you are exercising in terms of not wanting to comment directly on the investigation. But given what you've said in the last two answers to my questions, you might be understood by some as basically having concluded that there is no substance to the allegations of physical and sexual violence at that school, but rather you tending to lean more on the instigation element. Is that your intention?
Not at all, Thulasizwe. You see, the two sections that I have referred to, one of them deals with those who might be involved as alleged in terms of instigation. But the second one, criminal law and sexual offenses and related matters, speaks to the officials in the school, including the principal. If it happens that the investigation reveals that the principal was aware that children were actually sexually assaulted, and he has not done anything about it, then it is also equally wrong in terms of that section. So we give you a balanced view in terms of both allegations as set up.
So, just I was saying that it was particularly any allegation of sexual violence, physical violence in a schooling environment, especially, is always distressing. But there was something just particularly distressing about seeing those videos of those children protesting and trying to voice out their grievances using sign language. Talk to me about that within the context, broader context. How vulnerable are children in special needs schools, and what systems are there to protect them?
Yeah, look, I must indicate that it must be noted that as Sanase, while we are, our constituencies are the SGP's office, but our interest and primary objective is on the rights and well-being of the children in this. And I should say that the children, all of them are vulnerable. That's why in terms of the law, children are categorized as vulnerable groups. So it makes it worse when the children have got some barriers and disabilities. So there has not been enough effort to try and circumvent this vulnerability on part of government and education. But we are now very glad and happy that in terms of vetting of people who are working with our children, priority has been given, and we must commend it because it says that there is a recognition that we might be harboring.
All right. Thank you for your time this morning and those insights. That's Dipulelo Tema, who is Secretary General of the South African National Association of Special Education. Brings us to 8 a.m. Dineo Motaung is on standby with the latest news.
Outsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thanks to last top stories, family of 5 killed in Ekurhuleni blaze and Sudanese medics sound alarm over civilian killings. A very good morning. 5 family members have died in a shack fire at the Steve Biko informal settlement in Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni last night. Ekurhuleni Emergency Services spokesperson William Ntladi says firefighters arrived and found the ruined shack engulfed in flames. He says the cause of the fire is not known at this stage.
And on search, rescue and recovery, 5 charred bodies were found under the burnt rubble. The cause of the fire is still undetermined and is under investigation by the SAPS officers and fire safety officers. One person, a teenager of about 19 years old, survived with no injuries because apparently his shack was built a couple of meters away from the main house.
In other news, retired Ekurhuleni Deputy Chief of Police Rivers Spies will continue his testimony at the Madlanga Commission this morning. The commission is looking into allegations of criminality, corruption, and political interference in the criminal justice system. Spies' evidence before the commission has demonstrated links between EMPD Deputy Police Chief Julius Mkhwanazi and attempted murder accused Vusmusi Kedmatlala. Sibahle Mota reports.
The fitting of blue lights on vehicles belonging to attempted murder accused Ket Matlala took center stage at the Madlanga Commission. This as witnesses testified that not only was the action unlawful, but was authorized by Deputy Police Chief Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Witnesses have further testified that Mkhwanazi also signed a memorandum of understanding with Matlala Security Company, Ket VIP. This was for the donation of vehicles to the Ekurhuleni municipality. However, the handover did not occur. Proceedings will continue at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria.
Moving to Limpopo, a 14-year-old boy accused of raping a 6-year-old girl is expected to appear in the Malamulele Magistrates Court this morning. Police say he was arrested in Makumeka village and released into the care of his parents. It's alleged the child was lured with sweets and assaulted in nearby bushes. She later reported pain to her mother and was taken to hospital. Police spokesperson Malisa Ledwaba says a medical report indicates that the child was sexually violated.
Police swiftly traced the 14-year-old suspect. He has been released into the care of his parents, pending the probation office assessment scheduled for Monday, where he will be formally charged. The suspect is expected to appear before Malamulele Magistrate Court soon. The Provincial Commissioner of Police in Limpopo, Lieutenant General Thembi Hadebe, has expressed grave concern over the incident and emphasized the seriousness with which police are treating the matter.
In Gauteng, the provincial government has condemned the vandalism of G20 signage and revamped infrastructure across the city of Johannesburg. It is alleged criminals are targeting streetlights and essential infrastructure. The destruction includes the newly installed G20 summit signage along the route near Nasrec, south of Johannesburg. Provincial government spokesperson Elijah Mhlanga says this is concerning as the G20 Leaders Summit draws closer.
The Gauteng provincial government is extremely concerned that the investment we have made to upgrade our road infrastructure is now being undermined by criminals. The criminals are targeting infrastructure such as traffic signals as well as streetlights, where the repairs have recently been completed. We call upon members of the public to work with the police to ensure that these criminals are arrested. It has become clear in our view that this is not just petty crime, but it is organized, it is deliberate, and that it is orchestrated by people who have something to gain from the vandalism.
Lastly, a Sudanese doctors' union has accused the paramilitary rapid support forces of removing hundreds of bodies from the streets of Al Fasher to conceal alleged atrocities against civilians. The Sudan Doctors Network said some corpses were buried in mass graves while others were burnt. This man was displayed from Al Fasher and described his experience.
There were killings, theft. You could get tortured and have your mobile phone and money taken from you. Many youngsters were humiliated. Several were killed right before our eyes. The streets were filled with bodies of young men. We were treated with cruelty.
Recapping the top story, the Sawa 5 family members have died in a shack fire at the Steve Biko informal settlement in Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni last night. Headlines at 8:30 for Radio 2 for SAFM News. I'm Dinamo Taung.
It's a very good morning.
Go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. You could spend 10 minutes waiting for that file to download. Or get a 10-minute quote from Outsurance that could save you thousands on your car insurance. For his 2024 Ford Ranger, 57-year-old Andy now pays only 1,083 Rand a month. And for her 2020 Hyundai Tucson, 48-year-old Felicity pays just 836 Rand a month. Ready to get more out of your car insurance? SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. JCs and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM sports headlines, rugby. The Springboks' 32-17 victory over France is being called a revenge masterclass. And in cricket, Quinton de Kock says taking a break from the game has reset his love. We'll find out more just before 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. One of the delays we're keeping an eye on is top end of Pretoria, the N4. This is the Bequena or Rustenburg Highway. Very heavy backlogs this morning going into the Durbanport Plaza. If you're on your way to the N1, there's a surprise queue waiting for you there. Sifaka Makato, traffic lights down around the N1 highway, leaving Montana very slow. The R21 north away from the airport to Pretoria, queuing heavily into the roadworks at Clayville. Crash coming out of Benoni at Atlas Road, so that's very slow from Tom Jones. And a collision right in the heart of sort of central Joburg. Mike 1 at Oxford Road, and that's a queue that's all the way back through to Boyson's, back to almost Benrose on the M2, trying to get through Crown and into that Mike 1. Durban's having a really busy Monday morning. Big queues on the N3 inbound from Paradise Valley towards Spaghetti Junction. More queues up the N2 from the M7 to Westwood Mall, and then another queue from Umgeda Road up to a crash by Queen Nundy Drive. M4 Southern Freeway inbound at Rossborough is quite slow, and a breakdown at Cliffdale still with us as well. And then Cape Town, the N7 North, if you're leaving Mitchell's Plain, a crash at the N2 highway. That's heavy. Traffic well back past Vangate Mall. A lot of traffic on the N1 inbound from Kraaifontein through Brackenfell area, and a crash near the casino causing major sort of congestion along N7 Jakes Kerville and impacting Viking Way towards the N7. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m. The Morning Brief with Thulasizwe Simelane. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
8 minutes after 8. In fact, it's coming up to 9 minutes after 8 on this Monday. It's great to be in your company. Welcome to it, the third hour of the Morning Brief on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. As I always do, let me start this hour by reading back some of the messages that you've been sending us on 0614 104 107. Matota says, what carnage is this in our country? Every week, more than 8 road deaths and more than 5 deaths by shooting. Something must be done. Completely agree, Matota. It really has been a period of significant carnage. Someone else here says about the proposals from the Inspector General of Intelligence as reported by Sunday World. Someone else says, why are you surprised? Our freedoms are being taken away little by little, just like in Animal Farm. We have the whole country, including you, meaning me, cheering for a guy who says trialists must not get bail. People must be fired without due process. The media must not be in possession of information. No wonder the IGI wants to know what we discuss with our concubines, says that person. Only part I want to respond to, I had to read out your message because your point is important to capture, but don't presume to know what I believe. Please don't. I will tell you what I believe, right? I will engage you and tell you directly. Don't try. There are no lines to read between. No. If you knew anything about me, especially on issues like bail and the likes, you would not attribute that belief to me at all. But the rest of your point, I did want it to come across. So thank you for that, including that point about what we discuss with our concubines. And then Nat in Krugersdorp says, even ICASA must take the blame for this amount of crime we have in South Africa. We have so many unregistered SIM cards roaming around South Africa, and ICASA is not dealing with the likes of Vodacom MTN, and other service providers for all unregistered SIM cards. That is Nat in Krugersdorp. Thank you for that, Nat. And I think that was part of the weaknesses, if I recall correctly. That was part of the weaknesses that were identified leading to that grey listing, just our inability to follow through on acts like FICA and RICA. We have the laws, but then follow through was found to be wanting. So I wonder to what extent that aspect was tightened up as part of the 22 action items we had to fulfill for us to be removed from the grey list. I wonder if that was addressed. And then about the development in aviation that we covered in our international update, the work that is being done by Qantas and Airbus for an aircraft that will be able to do non-stop flight from areas like Washington all the way to the east coast, the west coast of Australia, Perth and the likes. This person who asks, what would make a flight to Sydney take a week? Well, that's because in the framing of the story, we talked about 8 years ago, a trip from New York or London would have taken a week. So we said a trip, not a flight. So slight difference there. You would have needed a week to travel from New York to, to Sydney or one of those various modes of transportation that were available at the time. Then lastly, let me read this message. You are shattering my story and I'm not happy at all. This person says, Thulas, it is false that Dr. Moroka was frog marched out of his surgery to an ANC conference. He was already at the conference as per invitation, representing his own organization. You see, that's what I'm talking about. I want the story to be so true. I want it so badly. It's such a beautiful political drama, and I can visualize it in my head. Imagining what vehicle they must have been driving when they went to get him there. So when Anje, you're coming through and just raining on my parade, I don't know if I like this story. I want to continue to believe this story, the drama of it all. It is beautiful. Do call me. The number to dial 086 000 2032. 086 000 2032. Your WhatsApp voice notes 0614 104 107. Let's get into it then. The third hour of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to WeBuy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy brands that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. WeBuy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
Thulasizwe Simelane on the Morning Brief. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
15 minutes after 8. Let's get into this story. The South Africans across social media have turned their profile pictures, many turning their profile pictures purple in solidarity with a nationwide shutdown against gender-based violence and femicide. And that whole movement is led by the Women for Change organization. The movement and the nationwide shutdown, scheduled for the 21st of November, calls on women and members of the LGBTQI community to withdraw their power by refraining from all forms of paid and unpaid labor for a day. a powerful act of resistance aimed at demanding that GBV be declared a national disaster. Let's speak to Michael Benevolent Masina, a GBVF activist with Women for Change. Good morning and thank you for your time. So tell me what this campaign aims to achieve. You're calling for a nationwide shutdown on the 21st of November. What do you envisage that looking like and achieving?
Good morning, Thulas, and thank you so much for having me. As I mentioned, and as we are continuously mentioning on social media right now, the shutdown is one way in which our organization aims to put the spotlight on one of the country's deepest, most urgent crises. And that is, like you mentioned, the gender-based violence and femicide in South Africa. That crisis, but most importantly, also we are trying to manage the gap that currently exists between the legislation in our country. This is multiple lived realities of women, members of the queer community in our country.
So the whole nationwide shutdown is timed to be on the 21st of November. Is that a coincidence with the G20 Leaders Summit starting the very next day?
We definitely can't say it's a coincidence, because that is one way in which we saw best fit that we can actually get eyes and ears on the ground and mobilize as many people as possible to really pay attention. As you know, the G20 is highlighted and focused on bringing multiple to South Africa as a way of basically showing the progressive nature of our country. So we, in putting this campaign, this is 2020, our way of saying, actually, before we even talk about progress in our country, can we talk about the current state of our country? And that is lived experiences of women, children, as well as members of the LGBTQI community that are killed, slain every single day. And those numbers rising and rising. That has been left silent to the very people who are meant to be protecting us and the very people who are supposed to be our leaders. So that is not a coincidence. It is definitely a way in which we are trying to mobilize as many people as possible to get as much awareness as possible and hope that because we have it centered on that day, we can actually achieve some real change.
So there's a whole host of actions that you are calling on activists across the country and people across the country to undertake to send a strong message. Talk to me about those, including the 15-minute standstill at noon, but also this withdrawal of labor for the day.
Yes, absolutely. So we are hoping to interrupt the business as usual for the day. You know, that mindset that a lot of people have now in our country, the mindset that have made people so desensitized as well what is currently going on in our country in terms of the DBV crisis. So we want to highlight that continuous non-responsiveness as well from our leaders, which is why on the day we are calling on all women and the LGBTQI plus community across South Africa, and that is mostly because statistically they are the most affected by gender-based violence. And that is why we're calling on them to withdraw from all paid and unpaid labor, be it in their workplaces, in their homes, universities, or even in public places as well. And this is ways, of course, for them to demonstrate to the economy as well as to demonstrate their power of social impact and what could potentially happen if they are in those places. We also want to have them partake in the 15 minutes or the standstill that we have at exactly 12 p.m. on the day, on the 21st. And this would be by laying down wherever they are, because we also understand, of course, that some people may be unable to get off work for the day. So there's other ways and other means of still partaking in the cause and in the campaign. They can wear black or be dressed in black on the day, and that is a way of honoring the people that lose their lives every single day in our country. But more importantly, we're also calling for them to sign our petition, and that is what you mentioned, try and declare gender-based violence national disaster.
And how would that change the situation as a parting shot? How would that change the situation declaring it a national disaster as compared to the efforts that have already gone into it, including the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide? So in a way, I'm inviting you to comment on the implementation of the plans and the laws that we have already.
Yes. So what we mentioned in bringing this up, we are trying to highlight those very frameworks that you are mentioning, those frameworks that we have at South Africa and we've had brilliant on paper and that have been existing in our country. Those promises that have come from our government, including the launch of the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, already came about in 2019, at the end of 2019, early 2020, together with the 90-day acceleration blitz that they then amplified afterwards to try as a response to fast-track the implementation say. What we're saying is we are 5 years into that plan because it was when it was launched 10 years ago, implemented, planned to be implemented between 2020 and 20. We are in 2025 now, and already halfway through the launch, there has been little to no concrete or physical evidence to truly combat gender-based violence and femicide in the country. So we are trying to make South Africans aware of what is happening when it comes to this sort of legislation, that they really do exist on paper, but they're not doing really much in terms of actually protecting the survivors of gender-based violence on a daily basis when they reach out together with other stakeholders in the gender-based violence field. When we cross-reference everything that we do on a daily basis, we definitely can see that gap is visible and that no one in terms of government is actually paying attention to it and trying to fast track it as they've already happened.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. Thank you for your time. Michael Benevolent Masina, GBVF activist with Women for Change.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
Ready to connect, innovate, and be inspired? It's all happening at Africa's Tech Festival, where Africa's technology meets the world. From the 10th to the 13th of November in Cape Town, join global leaders, investors, and innovators driving the future of Africa's digital economy. Don't miss the continent's biggest week in tech. Get your pass now at africatechfestival.com.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
24 minutes after 8, let me take one or two of your voice notes. Earlier on, we were hearing, in fact, in the last day or so, hearing from the ANC confirming that Senzo Mchunu, the on-leave Minister of Police, wanted to step aside, in addition to being on leave in terms of the government work, wanted to step aside from ANC activities, but the NEC, National Executive Committee, said no, don't do it. There's no need for you to do that. Allowing the Madlanga Commission to play itself out, etc., etc., and also insisting that only those who are charged, formally charged, are required to step aside. So let me hear what this person has to say about that.
Good morning, Thulas and your team. You know, Thulas, the ANC's refusal to allow Minister Mchunu to exercise the step-aside role is a clear indication that the ANC thrives on corruption. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, you have to think back to when the step-aside policy was first conceptualized and strengthened, right? The whole Integrity Commission being strengthened in the last two conferences of the ANC, and what the commentary was by the ANC itself about the impact of people facing allegations and continuing to be associated with the ANC and the kind of damage that was doing. I get that this is different. This is not Senzo Mchunu being charged criminally. This is Senzo Mchunu facing allegations in public that are part of the investigations, and daily more layers being peeled at that, more revelations and allegations being made. He wanted to step aside from what we are hearing. He was saying, comrades, I'm fine. I can step aside. And the comrades said no.
Good morning, Thulasizwe. I would like to ask what can we get in that G20 as oh, is it coming? Because what I see, all what they do now is to bring the job back, but thereafter, once the G20 is gone, the job back will be filthy again. What can we get in that? I don't know. Robert,
Yeah, Robert, thank you for that. I think we must line up a couple of conversations in the coming days as we build up to the G20 Leaders Summit. The way I understand it, the G20, its force and its power is in being almost a coalition of the willing, in that it works mostly on the basis of consensus. So, and also works on the economic stability of the world. So, any shocks, anticipates and intervenes in policies. Once you convince each other that this practice, trade, the way trade is happening now, poses a systemic risk to the global economy, they will convince each other to adopt policies in their respective countries that will then counter that. Financial markets, want on unregulated activity. We've seen what it can produce by way of a global crisis. That's where it intervenes. Inequality is the big talking point now. What can you do in your individual countries, just by consensus among ourselves? You go back to your own country. It's unique in that way, isn't it? In that it's the one platform where you will get countries such as the United States, China, and Russia in the same room and hope for consensus at the end of the day that moves the country forward. As for the cleanup campaigns, it's up to you and I to insist that we deserve a livable country even beyond the G20.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
It's a very good morning to you. Let's start with the special story from the weekend. The Springboks and their 32-17 victory over France, which is being called a revenge masterclass, with Andre Esterhuizen starring in a hybrid role. Rassie Erasmus has been developing, and this power in contact as well as tactical kicking were decisive as the Boks out-muscled the hosts in Paris. Rassie has also confirmed squad changes for this week's test against Italy. Andre Pollard is set for a recall, while a specialist hooker may start at centre as part of his positional flexibility experiment. Cricket now. Quinton de Kock says taking a break from the game has reset his love for cricket and opened the door for a full return to the Proteas. De Kock was speaking to a newspaper and says that time away allowed him to rediscover joy and purpose after years of non-stop pressure at international level. Soccer news, the Carling Knockout Cup final will be played at the Peter Mokaba Stadium. The PSL confirmed the venue shortly after Maruma Gallants beat Golden Arrows 4-2 on penalties following a 2-all draw in Durban. They'll meet Orlando Pirates, who edged Richards Bay 1-0 on Saturday. The final kicks off on the 6th of December, with the winners facing the Carling All-Star 11 the following week. More soccer, Nottingham Forest finally have their first win under Sean Dyche, coming from behind to beat Leeds United 3-1. Manchester City jumped to second with a comprehensive 3-0 win over Liverpool. And in golf, Aaron Rai returned from his wedding break in memorable fashion, beating Tommy Fleetwood in the final playoff hole to win the Abu Dhabi Championship. Rai rolled in a 12-foot birdie at Yas Links after both players finished regulation at 25 under par. It's the Englishman's third DP World Tour title and his first since 2020. And finally, tennis. Top seed Carlos Alcaraz opened his ATP Finals campaign with a confident 7-6-6-2 win over Alex de Minaur in Turin. De Minaur battled hard to push the first set into a tiebreak, but Alcaraz broke twice early in the second set and controlled the match from there on. That's your sport. We'll serve it up with John Helica around 12:30. I'm Zai Khan.
For the headlines at 8:30, I'm Dino Modaung. Good morning. The judicial inquiry into allegations of attempting to stop the investigations or prosecutions of Truth and Reconciliation Commission cases will start its public hearings today. In other news, 5 family members have died in a shack fire at the Steve Biko informal settlement in Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni last night. And a prominent Zimbabwean politician, Job Sikhala, will today appear in the High Court in Pretoria. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. This is fast becoming a top story. The absolute and complete gridlock inside Pietermaritzburg. Doesn't matter whether you're coming down from the town hillside, coming in from Northdale, or you're in the city centre. There is hardly anything moving in central Pietermaritzburg. Complete sort of stop down all over the show. Not only those sort of approaches, but really deep inside the city centre of Pietermaritzburg. Real gridlock through that. Just staying in KZN this morning, the N3, if you're leaving Pietermaritzburg down to Durban, looks fine. There is a backlog, though, at Cliffdale going towards Pietermaritzburg. Crash on the N2 at Queen Nundy Drive, so you've got two queues to work through. M7 up to Westwood Mall in the roadworks, plus a breakdown on that section. And then you queue Umgena Road up to Queen Nundy into that crash. Also, this is a big one. Might want to avoid it. The M4 going north, roadworks up by the M41 approaching Umhlanga. Delays all the way back through Virginia Airport. Try Umhlanga Rocks Drive as an alternative. That should get you through quicker. Joburg's Mike 1 stays busy between Boysons and Parktown. N3 super heavy this morning. Alex to Buccleuch North, southbound backlogs from Limbro Park heading down into the roadworks at London Road. R21 away from the airport to Pretoria, still queuing at Clayville. That's probably looking like about a 20-minute delay to work through. And Cape Town, the N7 North, a crash at the N2 causing a delay passing Bangate Mall. And then a truck involved in a smash on the N7 between the casino and Four Trekker Road, causing delays along the N7, but just badly backing up that Goodwood and Epping area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
The business update on SAFM.
Let's turn once again to Ndauling Lechela. Ndauling, let's talk state ownership of, stakes in some of the enterprises that are at the core of their economy. Talk to me about Botswana and Angola eyeing greater control of De Beers.
So the mining ministers of Angola and Botswana met last week to discuss cooperation in the diamond, energy, and logistics sectors. A meeting that comes as both for Anglo-Americans De Beers unit. Botswana, which already holds a 15% stake and contributes about 70% of De Beers rough diamond output, regards the company as a strategic national asset. Angola, meanwhile, has restricted from seeking a minority stake to making a bid for majority control as well to exit that unit. Now, analysts say the talks highlight a broader push for African nations to capture more value from their natural resources by expanding cutting and polishing industries and boosting national revenues. Despite weak diamond prices and growing competition from lab grown stones, a successful African led deal could mark a turning point, positioning the continent not just as a supplier of raw gems, but as the owner in the global diamond trade.
Yeah, I remember years ago visiting Gaborone with the then president Jacob Zuma, and the whole point was to learn lessons about beneficiation of minerals. And Botswana was showcasing what they were able to do and the kind of pressures they were able to exert on De Beers to say, you get the diamonds from us. Why do you then sell them in Antwerp? And you were going to start, doing more of your activity locally. I don't know how that has worked out over the years. It's been a while since I visited that story. Talk to me in local news about TFG posting a decline in earnings.
So the fashion retailer is tightening its belt to us after a difficult winter season and sluggish consumer spending across its key market. The group reporting a 21% decline in earnings over the interim period and now says it will shut underperforming stores and rein in costs after that downbeat performance. CEO Anthony Thurnstorm says sales were uneven, strong around payday, but weak in between, reflecting how squeezed Now, while group revenue climbed 12% to over 31 billion rand, profit margins were hit by heavier discounting and softer demand for winter clothing. That is, Thurston says the company will now focus on what it can control, from cost rationalization to managing stock more tightly. The group is also banking on turnaround in local production, competes with fast fashion giants like Shein. It's already making more women's wear locally and plans to start producing denim and cut down import lead times. TFG says this move is about staying nimble in a retail market where consumers remain hesitant.
Lastly, Dowling, what kind of a trading day can we expect today?
Local markets likely to open mixed as the global sell-off slows. It's a busy news day with results out from Vodacom, Raubix, and Omnia. So investors will wake up to that. Then over in currency markets, the rand stable ahead of the mini budget and a credit review by ratings agency S&P Global. It's sitting at 17.27 to the greenback. Over in commodities, oil trading stronger at $60 per barrel. Traders are banking on the US government shutdown coming to an end soon after an important vote was passed overnight. And that optimism also filtering through to Wall Street with positive territory. Lastly, in Asia, markets mostly in the green with tech counters sensing a recovery and positive Chinese inflation figures, giving markets on that front a boost.
All right, Dowling, thank you for today. That's Dowling Lechela. She's been watching business, economics, and the markets for you throughout the morning here on the Morning Brief.
There's summer, and there's that extra summer with Vodacom's free gifts on summer deals. Like the new Honor X7D 256 gig on a 1 gig Redcore plan, which is $299 per month over 36 months. And get a free Honor Watch 2i gift worth $999. Plus 5 gigs YouTube data for 3 months and free 2 months YouTube Premium. Now that's extra. Available in-store and online. T's and C's apply. Further together, Vodacom.
Call Thulasizwe now, 086 000 2032.
All right, let me start with a call from Manuel in Mossel Bay. Good morning to you, Manuel.
Good morning, Thulas. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. Thulas, first of all, I am not from South Africa, but I'm legally here in South Africa.
Sure. You are legal, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm using a refugee permit. And now the problem is, I don't, where I say there is no office there. For everything that I have to do, I have to travel to Cape Town, like 100 kilometers, either drive or take a bus. And when I do that, even to check the document if it is out,
Yeah.
you get there, like today, I drive the whole night, I get there, I get told by the security that your nationality must come back on Tuesday. The last time that I was there, nationality was on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They changed the whole thing. Now you have to drive back again, come back Tuesday. So the thing is, not everyone can afford to be legal because no one can afford the money and the time to go and check or renew their papers. So sometimes the system is forcing people to be illegal.
Yeah. No, I've heard that being said quite a lot, that the system is not helping at all. What does the situation look like in terms of the time that it takes to have your papers renewed? You already talked about the effort, but what about the time? Is there a backlog in the renewal of some of these permits?
Renew is much faster.
Okay.
But after years, you are supposed to apply for ID, they call it an enabling document, so that you can contribute in the economy. You see?
Yes.
But that ID, that's the one that I applied, and I have to check if it's out. I can check online, or I can't go because there's no number to pay.
Sure. Wow.
Or I can't send an email because it's never sent it to. So I have to drive 400 kilometers to come back and it has to go back home, only to be told that you must go back and come back again.
Yeah.
And when I come back, it's likely that I'm going to be told that it's not out.
Yeah, yeah, no, that doesn't help, Manuel. Thank you for sharing that. And I can imagine the number of people facing that situation. Because if you're insisting that people must be legal in the country, which is correct, you must also enable and assist them to be legal so that you deal with those who are flouting the laws, right? You can't be wanting to, like, you just need the system to work, don't you? And I was trying to tease out with Manuel the backlogs. I remember that there was an issue with backlogs, but he tells me that that's not even a challenge. Right now, the challenge is about um, the offices and lack of access, just one being in Cape Town, one being in another city, and the distances in between, and no one attending to phone calls or emails such that you can't even follow through in that way. There's no alternative from what it's describing other than to get on a bus, travel 400 kilometers to Cape Town, and get there and be told by security at the gate, no, come back on Tuesday or come back another day. That doesn't help with regularizing the stay of many people in South Africa. Modisa in Germiston, good morning.
Thulasizwe, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm fine.
Mm.
Thulasizwe, I want to talk about this SIM card.
Yes.
First, let me start here. I'm going to quote you. Let us hope hopefully that the conversation I'm going to have with you,
Sure.
I'm sorry to say it. Now, let me get to the crux of the matter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this SIM cards, to us, mainly they come from this foreign national shop.
Mm.
You walk around, you'll find people standing on the road, telling you that no, we give you this SIM card free. It already has a number behind.
Mm.
So it's a recard, but by whom? It's not known.
Mm.
You take that SIM card, the very SIM card, believe you me, is the one that is going to come because it doesn't belong to. I take that SIM card as Moody's, but the number, when you check it, doesn't reflect to anything happening to Moody's.
Mm-hmm.
So the onus is with ICASA and the service providers, network providers, to say we are not going to give new SIM cards to every Tom, Dick, and Harry for selling.
Yeah.
Let it be regulated
Yeah.
that SIM cards will be only sold by registered or known
Yes.
retailers,
Yeah.
like
I
your
get you.
ShopRite, your Mr. Price, whoever that
Yeah.
is doing business legitimately
I
in South
get you.
Africa.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to allow every person to sell SIM cards, that is the problem that you're going to have.
Yeah. All right. Modisa, I get you. I get the point you're making 100%. It is one of those. I've heard this complaint about the batch recurring. Is there such a thing? The batch recurring of SIM cards. So a person taking 100 SIM cards and they are all registered under some name, and basically you just come and buy, and you have no further compliance that you need to adhere to. That defeats the purpose of what we are trying to do. Begin Katlehong. Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
Very well. How are you, Peggy? Please go ahead.
I'm good. My problem is one thing about school. We have dialogue in the school. We have problem. The children, they are smoking tobacco. They are smoking drugs, different drugs. They're beating each other. After 8 years, children are roaming around outside school, trying to solve that. We're having problems. We need help.
Yeah.
Please,
Yeah.
can you help us?
Sure. Yeah. I get the pain when I big. It feels like it's one of the many burning platforms of our moment. So many crises that we're dealing with.
Yeah, too much. And if we're losing direction, if our children are going to have problems. And I think if we start now to solve those problems, everything is going to be fine.
Yeah.
As we're dealing with that thing, we are the patrollers in the Kateho, neighborhood bash.
Sure.
With living community. We're going to the school, save the children to come early, but we're getting most of them. They lack to fight. They're fighting too much, and we can't take it.
Yeah. All right, Peggy, thank you for
So,
raising that. And thank you for the work that you do in your community, rolling up your sleeves and getting involved and not waiting for someone to come and save us, because in many ways, doesn't it feel like no one is coming to save us? Doesn't it? Andres in Mondio, good morning.
Morning, Thulasizwe. How are you?
Very well. How are you? Please go ahead.
Yes, thanks, man. I just want to actually to talk about the vandalism
Mm-hmm.
of the street lights and the cables here
Sure.
in the south of this is an eyesore to us. It's very man. See how the vandalism. I live in the south, I work in the north. Coming back from the double decker poisons interchange towards Gold Reef Street, Nazareth on the Mondio. The streets are always, the street lights are removed, the street lights. Street lights are removed, the cables is vandalized. You see the contractor trying to fix. Within 3 days, 4 days, the cable is gone again. So I was just asking myself, when Elijah was saying this is organized, I'm asking myself, since when have they realized? Because this has been happening for years. If it is clear, it is organized.
Sure.
Why would people steal so much cable? Why are they taking it?
Yeah.
There should be an appetite, the demand somewhere. Demand and the supply. I think we're in the demand and the supply space.
So, Andres, does it seem to you that there's a particular targeting of street lights at this moment? Because it seems to be shifting, right? There was a time when traffic lights were the targets, and the overhead cables of entities like PRASA were being targeted. Now you are saying that from your observation, street lights seem to be the focus.
Street lights and the cables, especially this new LED lights that the city power is trying to use. Those ones, I think, I really very sad. There is somewhere where people are taking this to. It cannot be at this huge number, and then people are just taking it for their check. Because it really can't. If you go to Crown Mines, there's an informal central mine somewhere there next to the Sasol, if I may put it that way. The cables that you see, the cables that are being used for the street lights are the cables that are being connected across the substation or the meter point up into the sector.
Sure. Yeah.
It is glaring. You don't need to ask twice. You can see, and everyone there has got lights, but it is just an internal settlement. So it's a pain, man. If you concern citizen, it's a pain.
Yeah, it's
But
infuriating. Yeah.
The streets have always been bad. It's clear now that our streets are starting to be up because the G20 is coming, and then that is the route possibly the VIPs are going to use. And I know before soon they will be gone. The traffic lights by Omond there, Uncle Charlie, if you know the South, the South Page,
Yeah.
they were gone. They're only being restored now if they put some cameras. But I tell you, excuse to that phase. Soon after the G20, if not before the G20, all that infrastructure will be gone.
All right, Andres, thank you.
We can organize time.
Yeah,
Andres, I think our intelligence could get involved in intervening this thing. It is
Andres,
beyond our ordinary policing.
all right, Andres, thank you for that. That's Andres out in Mondio. I think there's a conversation there to be had as a follow through. Doesn't the SAPS have a unit or a task team? We've been learning in the last while about the difference between a unit and a task team. I wonder if they don't have something that has to do with that. I know they had something on precious minerals. I wonder if they have something on critical infrastructure. Yeah, someone must be able to talk to us about what is being done about this situation, over and above just calling for citizens to report. What law enforcement action, sustained, consistent, is being done about this issue? There's a conversation there.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning, top story. Peter Marisburg. If it's not essential for you to be in the middle of Peter Marisburg now or trying to get into PMB, don't do that because it's absolutely gridlocked. It's complete gridlock. All approaches, all directions coming in, and then the city centre routes are full as well. It doesn't matter whether you're sort of coming in off that sort of Polly Shorts run from that side up in towards the city centre, whether you're coming in from Woodgrove off the N3 highway, particularly bad coming in from that North Dean side, but really it's sort of everywhere. It's right across Peter Marisburg, and we think the underlying cause of this is the training, the exams around the showgrounds for traffic officer positions. We think that's what it's about. Such is the demand. It is causing complete and utter gridlock. I have put a live, real-time picture of that gridlock up on Twitter at Traffic SA. You can have a look and see what we're talking about and why you shouldn't be trying to get through to Peter Marisburg at this stage. Just away from that, Joburg's N3 North, pretty heavy today from Limbro Park, well, from Alex up through Limbro Park into Buccleuch. That's an all-day delay, but it is heavy. Monday volumes there make a difference. R21 still queuing at Clayville if you're on your way up to Pretoria from the airport. Once you get through that, there's another crash on the R21 causing delays up by the N1 highway. So from Nelmapius Drive, that all gets a bit busy. Down by Durban, here's another one to avoid the M4, the Ruth First Highway on your way to Umhlanga. Roadworks have popped up this morning. Single lane open around the M41. That's a big queue from Virginia Airport side. Try Umhlanga Rocks Drive. You'll get through quicker. Crash on the N2 South at Gateway. So coming through from the airport, that's all heavily backed up. And Cape Town, if you're leaving Tableview, still really busy for this time of day. Marine Drive down through to the second lights at Sunset Beach. Kuberg Road is a mission from Bloberg Road right through to Montague Drive. And a crash on the N7, Jakes Kervell Drive, between the casino and Ford Trekker Road, causing a really big delay northbound from Langa, but also backing you up southbound as you head from Goodwood over that railway bridge area. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
48 nations, one dream.
The FIFA Under-17 World Cup hits Qatar and Mzansi's Amajimbos are in the fight.
It's game on everywhere. From 3 to 27 November, catch the action live on SABC Plus, SABC Radio, and SABC TV.
Download SABC Plus now. Stream, listen, watch.
SABC Sport, for the love of the game.
Thulasizwe Simelane is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio.
All right, before we go, we want to tell you this story. The South African Pharmacy Council, the statutory body regulating the pharmacy profession in this country, has joined the global community in celebrating Med Safety Week, which was between the 3rd and the 9th of November. Under the World Health Organization and the Uppsala Monitoring Center 2025 theme, we all have the power to make medicines safer. The SAPC is raising awareness about the critical importance of reporting adverse drug reactions to improve the safety and effectiveness of medicines. Let's speak to Vincent Tlala, who is CEO of the South African Pharmacy Council. Good morning, and thank you for your time. When we talk Med Safety Week, what are we talking about? The safety of medicines from which perspectives? From the home, where it's stored and how it is used and how we take it in line with the recommended dosage, or are we talking on the back end of things, safety as far as side effects and the likes are concerned?
Good morning to us and good morning to SA family. I think you got it right. The last part of it, the focus is on reducing side effects. And mainly we want to bring our awareness to the public. When you do take medicine, there may be some might be to the point of hospitalization, some might just be mild. But what is critical, we want people to reduce side effects and to report it to their health practitioners.
How do we have that conversation without unnecessarily, frightening people and sort of getting people put off from turning to medicines, even in instances where that is required. How do we strike that balance that says, yes, you will experience some side effects, but compared to the condition that you are dealing with, they may be milder than the symptoms of the condition.
True, as in every medicine that we take, there's benefits and there's risks. But what is critical is that when a person takes those medicines, they should report side effects. Some side effects we can use other medicines to treat, and some effects might be related to the drugs that you are taking at home. So that is why it is important for you when you go to your pharmacist, you disclose what medicines are you taking and what other conditions you might have. And the emphasis for us is, and I'll give you an example. If you are on cholesterol medicine, you refer to statin, and you eat a grapefruit increases the statins in the blood level, so as such you might end up with more statins. So it's important that you talk to us and you ask the pharmacist what you're taking so that we know that the side effect, is it just a few side effects or is it related to other medicines that you're taking or the food you're taking. The other one that I'll give, and I'm sure you have seen not so long ago, the long-acting contraceptive is an injectable. Proper name scientific is what we refer to medroxyprogesterone that is used in women to prevent pregnancy. What we have seen is people use it over a long period of time. It increases the chance of brain tumor. And we got picked it up as more women were reporting what those who use this much. It's important that it reported that the safety profile of such medicines may be updated. And we can then advise patients to say, if you use this medicine, you may not use it for this reason. Or we are able to say, if you use, please ensure that you don't take A or a B or a C.
Yeah. So there's a point that you make about this being, a mutual effort between the pharmacist and the patient, but also you emphasize transparency. Is it your experience that people are loath to disclose other conditions that they have, and perhaps therein lies the gap of disclosure, which would help the pharmacist in making decisions about what to prescribe and in what dosages?
And I think it's both ways to that. One of the emphasis I think is we are seeing to pharmacy, particularly when you talk to patients about those things that might be very private, please do take them into the private space so that they have an opportunity to pick them up and speak to you about other conditions that they might have, where they might not be at ease speaking about such conditions on the counter or the semi-private area. So all pharmacists by law, they require to have a private area where when you would want to discuss those serious issues, can do so with your pharmacist. And then we think by doing so, that would encourage patients to automatically disclose those things that they might not have done it on the counter.
All right, let's leave it there for this morning. I've got to thank you for your time. That's Vincent Tlala, who is the CEO of the South African Pharmacy Council. Yeah, so there you have it. It's very important to disclose conditions that you may have and any other medication so that you get the proper advice from your pharmacist. We were talking, of course, about Med Safety Week, which was between the 3rd and the 9th of November. And that's how we come to the end of the Monday edition of the Morning Brief. Thank you for listening and thank you for your engagement as always. Do stay with the station though, because the talking point with KG Mweketse today, and that's coming up after the news at 9 a.m. with Dineo Mutaung. I'm Thulasizwe Simelane and you've been briefed.
Thanks to last top stories, TRC interference inquiry kicks off and Zimbabwean politician in SA court over explosives. A very good morning. The judicial inquiry into allegations of attempting to stop the investigations or prosecutions of Truth and Reconciliation Commission cases will start its public hearings today. President Cyril Ramaphosa established the inquiry in May this year. The chairperson is retired Constitutional Court Justice Sisi Khampepe. The inquiry will probe whether and what contributed to stopping the investigations or prosecution of the TRC cases. The inquiry spokesperson Lionel Adendorf explains what to expect on day one.
On Monday, the anticipation is to start with the witnesses from the Kalata and others case, because as I said, that is a good foundation. That's a good start. The commission thinks, and that is why we will start with them. And then as we roll out to the others that are not as organized, if I can use that word in inverted commas, we will then get to them.
Meanwhile, retired Ekurhuleni Deputy Chief of Police Juva Spies will continue his testimony at the Madlanga Commission this morning. The commission is looking into allegations of criminality, corruption, and political interference in the criminal justice system. Spies' evidence before the commission has demonstrated links between EMPD Deputy Police Chief Julius Mkhwanazi and attempted murder accused Vusmusi Ket Madlala. Sibahle Mota reports.
The fitting of blue lights on vehicles belonging to attempted murder accused Ket Madlala took center stage at the Madlanga Commission. This, as witnesses testified that not only was the action unlawful, but was authorized by Deputy Police Chief Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Witnesses have further testified that Mkhwanazi also signed a memorandum of understanding with Madlala Security Company, Ket VIP. This was for the donation of vehicles to the Ekurhuleni municipality. However, the handover did not occur. Proceedings will continue at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria.
In other news, 5 family members have died in a shack fire at the Steve Biko informal settlement in Etwatwa, Ekurhuleni last night. Ekurhuleni Emergency Services spokesperson William Ntladi says firefighters arrived and found the ruined shack engulfed in flames. He says the cause of the fire is not known at this stage.
And on search, rescue and recovery, 5 charred bodies were found under the burnt rubble. The cause of the fire is still undetermined and is under investigation by the SAPS officers and fire safety officers. One person, a teenager of about 19 years old, survived with no injuries because apparently his shack was built a couple of meters away from the main house.
We move to the northwest now, where 30-year-old Nkosinathi Khumalo is expected to apply for bail at the Mokhwase Magistrates Court today. The accused appeared for the first time in court last week on a murder charge. Khumalo was arrested last month at Escort in KwaZulu-Natal following a murder allegedly committed this year in July in Maulukhane village. Northwest Police spokesperson Sabata Mokhwabone elaborates.
It was reported at the time of the incident that the accused allegedly killed Innocent Buthelezi, then cut his fingertips and private parts. Upon arresting the accused, the police found him in possession of the deceased firearm and 8 rounds of ammunition. He was then brought to the province for appearance in the Mokhwase Magistrate Court.
In the Western Cape, firefighters in the Cape Winelands district are continuing efforts to contain a blaze in the Kochmanskloof mountains above Montague and Ashton. The fire, which started on Thursday in the veld above Zolane, has been fanned by strong winds and high temperatures. Spokesperson Joanne Otto says crews have managed to divert the flames away from homes. She says no injuries or damage to infrastructure has been reported. Firefighting teams will assess the area today before resuming operations. Lastly, a prominent Zimbabwean politician, Job Sikhala, will today appear in the High Court in Pretoria. Sikhala was arrested on Friday during a roadblock after he was found allegedly with explosives. Ditaba Zodezi reports.
Job Sikhala's supporters in Zimbabwe believe that he was subjected to what they call a foul play when the vehicle he was traveling in was stopped and searched by members of the South African Police Service. It is alleged that during the search, explosives were discovered in the vehicle. The group has arranged legal representatives for Sikhala and appealed to the public to keep him in their thoughts and prayers during what they described as challenging times. Sikala's arrest in South Africa comes less than a year after his release in Zimbabwe. Ditaba Sotetsi, SABC News.
Recapping the top story at 9, the judicial inquiry into allegations of attempting to stop the investigations or prosecutions of Truth and Reconciliation Commission cases will start its public hearings today. Headlines at 9:30 for SFM News. I'm Dino Mutaung.
Afternoon Express is proud to be nominated in multiple categories at the 3rd Annual National Film and TV Awards taking place on Saturday, the 22nd of November. And you can add your voice by voting. Visit nationalfilmacademy.com, register and vote for Afternoon Express in the Best Entertainment Show category, Palisa Tembe for Best TV Presenter, and myself, Ayanda Jitabete, for Best Female TV Personality and Celebrity Personality of the Year. Voting closes on the 20th of November at midday.
This November, SAFM proudly presents the 3rd annual lecture.
And as the Freedom Charter says, no legitimate government could claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. And I think sometimes people forget that.
SAFM invites you to our 3rd annual public lecture, delivered by Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University, Dr. Geraldine Fraser Muleketi. The theme of the lecture is Confronting Inequality, Corruption and Unemployment, Rebuilding South Africa's Social Contract for Inclusive and Sustainable Growth. The lecture will take place on the 27th of November 2025 at the Indaba Hotel, Spa and Conference Center in Four Ways, Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at rsvp@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
As